Welcome to Beyond the Credits. I am your host, Aaron, alongside, as always, Fugi and producer Trey. And on today's show, we are going to be discussing one of the more surprising releases of 2026 so far, The Sheep Detectives, and also playing a game of Watch Skip with 23 different new spring releases that we missed over the course of the past several months. We have been on the grind when it comes to new releases. But before we do that, Fugi, we have some news to discuss. I was going to say, I don't know if you've seen this or not, but I know you have. We learned over the past week that Ari Aster is lining up his next film. It's going to be called Scapegoat. A24 is on board for this one once again. And the piece of news that we learned is that Scarlett Johansson will be the star of the film. You say what?
I'm in. I'm excited. But I think you could probably cast anyone in an Ari Aster movie, and I'd probably still
Yeah.
be excited. But with the star power that Scarlett has, I think that amplifies it. It kind of
I
feels
guess.
similar to like a Joaquin Phoenix, when he signs on. I mean, I'm excited. They're both huge stars, so I expect to
Yeah,
hit.
I was excited to see kind of Scarlett going in this route because I feel like she's just like really got caught up in the franchise blender over the course of the past couple of years. It just seems like she's honestly kind of been the star to sort of resurrect franchises. So they did that obviously with her for Jurassic Park, and I think she's shooting the new Exorcist reboot right now, and like there it just seems like she just keeps getting pulled back into all this IP. So nice to see her presumably doing something original. As always, the plots for his movies are sort of under wraps. What would you hope to see from Ari after Eddington, which is a movie I think we both really loved, but I'm imagining you would want him to kind of go back more to his horror roots.
Yeah, I mean, I think if he could, I think that's where he's peaked. Is obviously Hereditary. I think is his best work, but it's interesting because he made this drastic change to this Eddington, whatever, like that, and I would kind of like to see him go away from that genre too. I mean, maybe I don't know what else he could tackle that would be nice. Maybe give him like a sci-fi movie. I don't know, a sci-fi horror.
Yeah, because his film before Eddington was Beau is Afraid, and I think
Oh, I forgot about that.
you could kind of both categorize those as the same types of movie, just kind of this like paranoid thriller, I guess maybe you would call it. But I don't know what the movie Scapegoat makes me think that it could be. But I mean, I could totally see that being a horror movie, but I would love to see him do just like a pure comedy. I think that would be really. I mean, I think Eddington is that in some ways to some people, but I don't know that Scarlett Johansson would do that. But when I saw Scapegoat, it made me think that it was going to be a comedy. But I have nothing to base that on.
Yeah, I don't know if he has a pure comedy in his bag. And I don't know if I'd want that from him because I think he works so well off of Eddington. I think is the perfect mix between like serious and comedy. So I would like him to stay in that path, I guess. But
Yeah, I think he's just such a cynical filmmaker that I would like to see what he would do just in like a pure comedic tone. But I think to your point, I don't think that would land with a lot of people. So I can see if I thought it was interesting that A24 is going kind of back to the Ari well because notoriously his past two films, Beau is Afraid and Eddington, while two very good movies, I don't think have necessarily been riveting financial successes for the studio. So as they get bigger as a studio and kind of swing for the fences more and they're making more the Marty Supremes, these movies that are going to gross a lot of money. I love that they're continuing to kind of stick with their guys. Another, speaking of A24, another A24 movie that we got some news from over the past week. And I know we all three saw it, but the forthcoming film titled Tony, which is the Anthony Bourdain essentially biopic that's being made by Matt Johnson, starring Dominic Sessa. We got the trailer for that, and we got the release date. When you watched this trailer, Fugi, what were your first thoughts?
I actually didn't watch the trailer. I'm
Oh,
purposely staying away from it because Dominic, he excites me so much that I'm gonna be there no matter how bad it is, probably. If it's probably gonna be amazing. But even if it were bad, I would still see it. So I kinda don't wanna know anything about it, if that makes sense. I know
yeah,
like
no, that makes sense.
I know the log line and some of it, but I guess you guys could explain it.
Yeah, well, I mean, I think the things that we really pieced together from the trailer were that it's kind of choosing, we talked about this a little bit a few weeks ago whenever we were talking about the Michael movie, but it's taking the route to that the successful biopics go, and that it's not going to try to tackle his whole life. It's just tackling one summer of his life, sort of this transformative summer for him. And the cast around it is exciting. Not only you've got Dominic Sessa, but you've also got Leo Woodall, you've got Amelia Jones, these sort of young up and coming actors and actresses. And there's someone else that I'm forgetting. Is it Javier Bardem? There's some other big. Do you remember, Trey?
Stavros Halkias is in it, the comedian. I don't know if that's who you're thinking of or not, but
That's
he's been
not
getting
who
some
I.
interesting roles recently.
Oh, Antonio Banderas. That's who I was thinking.
Okay.
Him and Javier Bardem are a little bit interchangeable in my mind. But to me, that was kind of the big takeaway from the trailer was that I had no fears about this movie at all. Matt Johnson, the director, if no one out there has seen his last sort of biopicy movie from a few years ago called Blackberry, would highly recommend you check that one out. He also has a movie, another movie that came out this year as well called Nirvana, the band, the show, the movie, the funniest movie of 2026 in my opinion. So he's a guy that has a very signature style, and it'll just be interesting to see how that works in this sort of A24 world. I guess the thing that concerned me a little bit, and I don't know if you saw this piece or not, Fugi, was that they announced that this movie is being released on August 7th. And that to me just does not inspire a lot of confidence in the movie. But maybe they're just trying to find something that there's not much competition.
I feel like that's kinda like the dry zone. You don't wanna be in that area because 'cause you're, like, right before fall festivals, but you're after summer blockbusters. Maybe that works in their favor, though, because they think they can draw a crowd in that time, but it'll be interesting to see.
Yeah, I mean, we saw last year that I think it was the weekend after that, but obviously Weapons had success releasing in August. So if it's, and this is, I'm not comparing this to Weapons in any way, shape, or form. I think that this is the same release date that one night only, the Will Gluck kind of purge sex comedy. I think that's the same release date for that. So interesting that you kind of have two notable releases on that date, but it may just be a commentary on the fact that we're finally to a place where we have exciting movies coming out every weekend for the most part, which is a much better place to be than we were a few years ago coming out of the strike. A couple of other things that I wanted to get your thoughts on. Three different movies that were announced over the course of the past week. The first one is sort of a Super Bowl in a lot of ways for you and I, as far as people that we care about. This is going to be the new film from Kareem Ainuz. It's called The Last Dance. And the film is going to follow a composer who invites his daughter on a gay cruise in the Caribbean in 1991 while retreating from the reality of his AIDS diagnosis. Now, the thing that's exciting about this is the cast. The cast is going to be Rachel Zegler, ding ding ding, because I feel like she comes up almost every episode. Adrian Brody in his first role since The Brutalist, and then also Ben Platt is going to be starring in this film. I know we exchanged some texts about this one, Fugi, but I could not be more excited for this.
I think the best thing for me is Ben Platt is finally. I mean, he's obviously was huge in the theater, but he's working his way into a little movie star with his Merrily We Go Round or whatever that the Linklater movie he's
Yeah,
filming.
merrily we roll along. Yeah.
Yeah, and then there's this. I mean, he's starting to, which I love. Obviously, Dear Hansen was a little down there, but it sounds like he's starting to pick good projects, I would assume, from cast and people in it. I mean, Adrian Brody doesn't really. I haven't seen much of his bag, but I don't think he just picks bad movies.
Yeah. Did you ever see the Ben Platt 2023 movie Theater Camp?
I did. Yeah, I really liked it.
Yeah, I think that was his last real movie that he was in. He's been in a couple of TV series since then. But my first reaction whenever I saw this was, uh, you talk about someone being typecast? Like, can Adrian Brody, does he have the ability to play someone other than like a tortured artist? Like, I kind of feel bad for him. He just keeps getting pigeonholed into these roles.
Yeah, but he's good at playing them. I mean,
Yeah, he
he's
is.
I'm
And
not
and
the
if
hugest Adrian Brody fan, but I think it's an interesting cast between Zegler and Platt. If
well,
you were to tell me
my
he's in there,
My thing is that, I mentioned earlier in the law, it's a composer who invites his daughter on a cruise with him. Supposedly, I mean, obviously the composer is probably Adrian Brody and Zegler is his daughter. Does Rachel Zegler pass as Adrian Brody's daughter?
I think she could, yeah. I mean, how old he actually, I don't know actually about that.
Uh,
I think they can make it work.
I mean, age-wise, it works. I just don't know that, she would look much like, his daughter, but the other news that came out about that is that she is gonna sing original songs, for the film, which is very exciting, and this director, I have, not seen much of their work at all, but, this guy did have a movie a few years ago with, Jude Law that was called, Firebrand, and it was essentially this kind of it was Jude Law and Alicia Vikander, so two kind of great actress, and it was about Catherine Parr and kind of her struggles against Henry VIII. Was a decent movie. Came out in 2024, so it's not like there's any red flags there from me on the filmmaker front. And I don't know if you saw this or not, but Rachel Zegler actually put on her Instagram story that they've been trying to get this movie greenlit since 2022. So kind of a really long, which is funny because you would have think that back then, like she was just coming off of West Side Story and was kind of a nobody at that point in time. So pretty cool to see them kind of carry this thing to the finish line. We'll obviously be much anticipating that one. Another one that got announced from a director that I think has a lot of talent. Mimi Cave, she directed Fresh a few years ago. That was a Hulu release. I think you've seen that one and liked that one. She had another film last year called Holland, starring Nicole Kidman, that was nowhere near as successful as Fresh, in my opinion. But her new film is called Pumping Black, and it's going to be starring Jonathan Bailey and Natalie Portman. And the log line is that it's a psychological thriller set in the competitive world of professional cycling. And it follows a cyclist who's 35 years old and is sort of aging out of the sport. And he's taken under the wing by a doctor who kind of has this thirst for victory and power. And as the Tour de France progresses, they kind of have to take more increasingly dark risks to protect his secret. Is sort of the log line. So it kind of sounds maybe similar to Lance Armstrong sort of thing that they're going for here. But for me, anytime I see Natalie Portman sign on to a movie, I have a lot of hope, and especially when it's a director I'm excited about.
I was gonna say Natalie Portman, a psychological thriller. That's just like, it
It's a
just
good
goes
con-
right
it's a
back to Black Swan, and I'm all for that. And Jonathan
good
Bailey is on the I mean, he's having himself a nice couple year run here. So
He is, yeah. I'm notoriously known for not being big fans of the Wicked films, but I love him in those movies, and thinks he gives a great performance as Fiero. So I don't know that I've necessarily seen him in anything too serious that it sounds like this will be. So that will be exciting. The other movie that was announced, starring two of our beloveds. This is going to be Benny Zitlin's "Hold On to Your Angels," and it follows a hellbound outlaw and a ferocious shepherd of lost souls who fall in catastrophic love as their crumbling bayou paradise drags them under. Now, you may say, like, why are you excited about that? The two stars of the film are going to be Paul Mescal and Jesse Buckley. So I will sign up for anything that they're in.
I actually did not see this news. That's I mean, yeah, I think you put them in any movie together, they're gonna kill it. Give me Hamnet Part 2, I guess.
Yeah, and I kind of hope that this is a sign that they've just like decided that they're gonna work together forever. Because you could clearly see sort of in that Hamnet press tour and Oscar campaign, it seemed like every time that Jessie Buckley was giving a speech, she would single Paul out and say like, like I bloody love you or something like that. And this is actually going to be their third film together, because in addition to Hamnet, they were also in Maggie Gyllenhaal. Her name will come up later again in this podcast. Maggie Gyllenhaal's first film, The Lost Daughter. That was a Netflix original from a few years ago. So exciting to see that they're kind of dedicated to working together. I would have to imagine that this isn't going to shoot for a while because Paul is in the middle of shooting the Beatles films, which I think are going to be in production for like 2 years. So this one may be a little bit down the pike, but exciting nonetheless to see these two together, because I think they're kind of two of the best young actors and actresses today. And anytime you can get sort of pairings like that, it's a lot of fun. Any other news that either of you all wanted to mention before we pivot to the Sheep Detectives?
I did not have any. I
Mm,
think you covered all the bases.
yeah, no.
All right. So before we, and really this will kind of be the first one of our, I alluded earlier to this kind of game that we're going to play throughout this episode of Watch Skip. Really, the genesis of this is just that on a weekly basis on the show, we're hopefully going to cover a lot of the bigger releases that come out, but we're not going to touch on every single thing that comes out. And there's a lot of stuff that sort of slips through the cracks. So what we're going to do, probably on a quarterly basis. We'll probably align them with the seasons. This will be the spring version of it. We'll just kind of look back over that season up to this point and just kind of shout out some of the other movies that we've seen that maybe didn't get as much fanfare and attention as we would have liked to give them or not liked to give them, depending on how good the movie is. So as I mentioned earlier, we've got 23 of those for today, and the irony is that the reason that we kind of slotted this episode for this week is because the only really big release other than the Mortal Kombat 2 movie was this new film directed by Kyle Balda, The Sheep Detectives. And I mean, maybe I'm going to speak out of turn here, but I don't really think that anyone in a million years thought that this was going to be a movie worth talking about and discussing at all. Trailers have been playing for this thing for a while, and quite frankly, I would just laugh every time I saw it because it was just Hugh Jackman and a bunch of talking sheep essentially. This movie is written by Craig Mazin. He's the writer of the HBO limited series Chernobyl and also the writer of The Last of Us. So that may have given us a little bit of more hope than we needed to, but just a star-studded cast in this. Hugh Jackman, Nicholas Braun, Nicholas Galzeltine, Molly Gordon, Julia Louis-Dreyfus, Bryan Cranston, Regina Hall, Patrick Stewart, Bella Ramsey, Brett Goldstein, Hong Chow, and Emma Thompson. Probably one of the most loaded casts of the year. And the log line is as follows: every night, a shepherd reads aloud a murder mystery, pretending his sheep can understand. When he is found dead, the sheep realize at once that it was a murder and think they know everything about how to go about solving it. Fugi, I know I typically ask you to start. What did you think about the movie? But before we do that, I just want to say that this is the biggest surprise of the year for me. And I absolutely loved this, and I can't believe that it was as good as it is. I'm curious if you had a similar reaction to the film.
Yeah, I mean, I thought it was really fun. It definitely was not what I was expecting. I guess when I see the title, The Sheep Detective, I watch this trailer. I'm expecting a very kiddish movie, very kiddish murder mystery. We get Knives Out. They're more for the teens and adults, but
Yeah.
we don't really get kids version of this. That would, in my opinion, that was wrong, and I shouldn't have really thought that because this really. I can say this: if I had a kid right now, I would not let them see the Sheep Detectives at a young age.
Oh,
Um,
what makes you say that?
I mean,
Just
it was
because it talks
very
about murder and
I mean, this is very death oriented. Just the whole understanding of death as a whole. As a 5-year-old kid, I don't know if I want them seeing that and being exposed like that.
I mean, I don't have any kids of my own. I was in a screening with a bunch of kids that seem to love it. And I've heard people that have taken kids to this say that they love it. You're just, I guess you're just alluding to the fact that it's a actually deep kids movie and it's not Super Mario Galaxy movie.
Well, I just think if I leave this and I see with my 4-year-old kid, they're gonna say, "Hey, mommy, what's death? Explain to me what happens when I die." I don't know if that's a good conversation to leave the sheep detectives.
I mean,
I,
the movie
isn't that the
does
role
like,
of movies?
yeah. It does like talk about death and reference death a lot, but I feel like it's not too like, it's obviously not gory at all, and it's not. There's not like, people like actually getting stabbed or murdered or anything. And I mean, I think it kind of it covers the whole idea with like very kid gloves in a way,
Yeah, I think it
of death. I
introduces the
don't yeah,
topic
go
I think it introduces the topic in sensitive ways. Like, it's not like it just,
yeah.
like, immediately go I mean, it honestly, even the idea of what death is and what that means, I think isn't really fully explored until towards the back half of the movie because sort of part of this whole tension in the movie the whole time is anytime something bad happens, the sheep just have this tendency to forget it. And there's this one sheep that is the one that never forgets. And he's sort of like kind of holding back what death even means for all of them until kind of later in the film. And I don't want to spoil this for anyone that has interest in going out and seeing it. But I feel like most of the time in a PG movie, like my thought of this going into the movie was who is this movie even gonna be for? Because you saw it was rated PG and that it was being marketed kind of as a kids movie, but you couldn't imagine kids really latching onto that and enjoying it. But I feel like it threads that needle very well of being a movie that adults can relate to and understand, but also is like I think the thing that I love about this movie is that it just treats everyone with respect. Like it doesn't treat you like you're an idiot and that you don't know anything, and it does that for both adults and for kids. And I just don't think we get a lot of movies like that. Everything wants to hold your hand, and this one isn't interested in that. Like it trusts its audience to figure out kind of what's going on.
Yeah, I mean, definitely, I enjoyed it. I honestly, I kind of want to see it again. I think every murder mystery movie services a second watch of it. Um, but the only thing I wish we'd have gotten more Hugh. I think we got
Yeah,
more than I expected from the
yeah,
trailer.
that's
I kind
fair.
of thought he would be in it for like, I kinda thought they were gonna kill him in the first minute. Seemed
Yeah,
very but it would've been cool to see him in it more, but I do love that he took this role. I think he was perfect in that. Just,
yeah.
like, hearing him read the stories to the sheep at night kinda just put a smile on my face. Um, so I had a lot of fun with it.
Yeah, and the I didn't even realize I knew who some of the voice actors were, but I didn't even realize like because I maybe didn't even see all the first trailer or anything, but I didn't even realize that like Molly Gordon was going to be in it. And I thought it was going to be a lot of just like sheep just like talking to themselves the whole time, just sort of animated sheep, and I didn't know there were going to be as many kind of humans involved. And I think one of my favorite things about other than the kind of commentary on remembering and death and all those sorts of things, I love the fact that the mystery is actually a really good mystery movie. And I don't want to spoil for anyone like what the reveal is with that because I think that's part of the fun of the film. But I think one of our criticisms, Fugi, of the Knives Out movies after you get past the first one, when you get into two and three, is that by the time you get to the end of the movie and they explain what's happening, it's sort of so convoluted and twisted that it's like you could have never even on your own sort of guessed what was happening
Yeah.
anyway. And this is not that. Like this is very much stripped down and yes, it's complicated, but it's not in a way that like you couldn't have pieced together what was going on.
Yeah, I really don't think it really is that complicated, though. Like, when you really I'm stupid when it comes to murder mysteries. I will never guess who did it, who even if it's, like, right in front of my face, I will not understand or
Yeah.
guess that person. I think this one I mean, I don't wanna say, "Oh, it was right in front of your face," and then people look for it if they see it. This is definitely not Knives Out 3 level where it's
No, it's
impossible to
not.
know.
And
It is
that's why I
yeah.
think it's successful in a lot of ways. And I think it's worth celebrating.
Yeah, and I guess the fact that I was kinda oblivious to it the entire time, that's a huge win for that. It
Yeah. And the
felt very
other
similar to Knives Out 1 in my opinion.
Yeah, that's fair. I will say there was a moment where and I don't really think this is a spoiler to say this, but there was a moment where I thought, "Oh no, are we gonna fall into the Knives Out trap of the most famous person in the movie is always the killer sort of thing?" Which has been a very unfortunate
Uh,
trend in the Knives Out movies. And there was a moment where I was like, "Please don't, like, don't go that way." And then it didn't, and it sort of pivots in a different direction. And it would have been disappointing if that were the case. But I know he alluded to it a little bit, like just the sincerity of this movie, I am not afraid to admit that I, like, cried multiple times throughout this movie. the moment in particular when, the Julia Louis-Dreyfus character, or Sheep, I guess you should say, when they're kinda, like, walking back and they're reflecting and, the line "remembering hurts" is thrown out, like, there's just a lot of moments like that that, are that and the ending, I feel like you maybe get, like, 1 moment like that in a couple movies a year, and this movie has, like, 4 of them, and I don't think it's one of the best movies a year or anything like that, but maybe it's just that my expectations were in the dirt. But this one, not only did I walk out being like, I'm glad I saw this, I'm like, I walked out thinking like, I can't wait to show my kids this movie someday. Which apparently is not how you feel because you will not show a kid this movie.
Not full on kid. Like, when they're above the age of like, if they're in, like, kindergarten or 1st grade, yes. Not like a 4-year-old is what I'm saying, or 3-year-old. This will not be a first movie I'm showing a kid.
Okay, yeah, I hear not first movie you're showing a kid, but I think that this is not only an interesting way to introduce those subjects and create a conversation afterwards, but I also think it works pretty well as like kind of a gateway, like just a gateway to the genre. I feel like you hear people talk a lot about like gateway horror movies, some movies that maybe like are much more chiller versions of the deep depraved stuff that you and Trey end up watching way down the road. But this is a really awesome like introduction to murder mystery type things, I think, for younger generations that then can go on and when they're older watch the Knives Out movies and know sort of the genre, and it does a really good job kind of deconstructing like what a murder mystery is and well, like the elements of it and all that kind of stuff, which I thought was pretty clever.
That's why, yeah, I think this is the perfect age for like a 7 to 8-year-old. They watch this and they go read the Hardy Boys, you know? They
Yeah,
get into
yeah.
yeah, so I think we're agreeing that it definitely is a kids movie. Just maybe the age range is a little different, but
Yeah, I just like that and I'm not gonna bring up Mario too much going forward, but, I like that this is a movie that I think you could put in front of your kids and, like, feel good about, and you know that it could lead to good conversations afterwards and all that kinda stuff. Like, it's not just gonna be mindless slop, that we see a lot of times, which is why I hope it won't make anywhere near as much money as the Mario movie, but I hope it does, very well at the box office because to me, this is the kind of kids movie that was common in the 90s and the early 2000s. The movie I thought about a lot while watching this was Babe. You probably don't even know what Babe is, Fugi, but it's the George Miller talking pig movie
oh, I've
from.
seen it.
Oh, you have seen it.
I
Okay,
have.
great. Okay.
Saw it as a kid,
Um,
don't remember it though, but I
but
remember the
just
talking pig.
just movies like that that I feel like these, live action it feels like all the kids' movies now are just animated, and there's nothing wrong with that. Animated movies can be great, but I think there is an opportunity to make more movies like this. So I really hope this opens the door for that.
I would like to state for the record that saw this on a Friday night. I think Friday, yeah, Friday at 7 o'clock, and I was the only person in the theater.
Oh, how sad.
So, yeah. Don't know how that's gonna if that affects where I live or the box office, but I hope it does do well. Could very easily see there being a sequel. There probably should be a sequel. The way we're
Oh,
doing sequels nowadays, they're probably going to.
yeah, I had a pretty full theater. I saw this on a Thursday evening, which may have been just that it was the opening night crowd. But there was probably 15, 20 other people in there, which was pretty it's a good movie to watch with the crowd like that, because there are a couple laugh moments and, all of that. I was gonna see how I don't know how it's tracking box office wise, but I would imagine we should know at this point. 50 yeah, 16,000,000. I'd say that's a pretty good number. I would imagine it's not too expensive.
Mario made that in an hour.
Oh, and that was just domestic. So worldwide, it's made, about, 28,000,000. I wonder what the budget is here. I know this is riveting. Oh, wow. That's an expensive movie. It was a $75,000,000 movie.
Okay.
It's a little, I kinda forgot that this movie was originally titled Three Bags Full, a sheep detective movie, and then they changed it to The Sheep Detectives. I
So
guess
it's
when you have that
gonna
many I guess when you have that many stars involved, it's a bit tough to make a movie that cheaply.
Yeah, I was
So
gonna say, what the main cost of that be? Is it the stars or I mean, obviously you have like CGI sheep for like basically the entire movie, so maybe there's like special effects budget that like builds up over the course of that. But
Yeah, I mean, I would have to
I don't
imagine
know.
that the star, budget I would imagine you don't get, Emma Thompson, for example, out of bed for, less than, a couple $1,000,000, and you go down through the list of people that are involved. I
Yeah.
wonder if we can see, but I would imagine the CGI is probably, not helping in the budget either. What'd you think of this one, Trey?
Yeah, I like going into it, I felt pretty similar to you guys. I mean, we went through our whole summer movie draft with nobody picking it. So that kind
Yeah.
of shows you what we thought about it going in. But but yeah, I thought it was really great. I was really I mean, I think I knew this going in, but it didn't really sink in that basically all of the sheep, I mean, that's like an incredible cast just in general, but for voice acting, that's like a crazy cast, all of the sheep. And yeah, it had so many good fun moments. Like you guys said, it's like a Knives Out for kids, but it's also something that adults can enjoy. So, and especially the ending was like that gave me goosebumps. So that was the like emotional
Yeah,
kind of shot for me with the
yeah.
ending. But yeah, I really enjoyed it.
I had, I'm sure you guys did too. There were a couple times when, because I didn't have memorized who was playing each of the sheep, and it's always fun whenever you're seeing a moment like that, and you're trying to pair the voice with who the person is. And there were a couple people that I knew instantly, like, oh, that's who that is. But the Julia Louis Dreyfus one, I was like, I know that voice, and then eventually, like, I looked and I was like, oh, that's obviously who that is.
Yeah, I
But that's
honestly
always
didn't pinpoint her until like after the movie was over and I looked it up.
the one that I
I
didn't
think
pinpoint at all was Bryan Cranston. I did not pinpoint that one.
I think I noticed that. Because I probably watch more of his stuff than you have, but
That makes sense.
yeah, that yeah.
the only one I got was the Brett Goldstein. I got that inst I mean, he has such a distinguished voice that that was very obvious to me, but
The funniest one is that the one that I got immediately was, shoot, what's his name? The Chris O'Dowd, which is funny because he's probably, like, the least, famous of all, but the second I heard his voice, I was like, "I know exactly who that," and I couldn't think of his name, but I could pick him out from, some of his, Bridesmaids is the movie that he's probably best known for, but he was also in, Juliet Naked, the, Ethan Hawke, Rose Byrne movie from probably 2008, somewhere in there, but just a very distinctive, voice, and good to see a bunch of other kind of young up and coming stars as the central kind of figures in the movie. I mentioned Molly Gordon, but also Nicholas Braun and Nicholas Galzeltine alongside kind of this murderers row of cast and crew. Certainly would recommend it if you need a movie to go out and see. I think it's kind of cool that it's coming out on Mother's Day weekend. I hope I'm sure a lot of moms are going to probably ask to go see Devil Wears Prada too, but if they have some younger kids, hope they consider this one. Any anything else on Sheep Detective? I guess it's an interesting point what you mentioned about a sequel, Fugi. I hadn't even been thinking of that, but I would imagine that it would be kind of in the works with what Amazon has cooking.
I don't think they should do a sequel. I would love them to just leave it alone and have a good movie and just end it, but in the world we live in,
This is 2026. We
it's
don't do
pretty
that in
inevitable.
2026.
Yeah.
Yeah. And 2, I mean, this one may not be a financial success, but, Amazon kinda having a moment right now, as a studio, actually putting out some really good stuff, to start this year, and we're actually gonna have an episode here in a couple weeks kinda celebrating what they've done up to this point as a studio and kinda looking ahead. So to kinda kick off our game, guys, watch, skip. I'm assuming everyone's on a watch on this one, or would you skip this one, Fugi?
No, I'm a watch for sure.
Yeah, watch definitely.
I would assume from what you were saying, you were definitely a watch on this as well.
Yes, yeah, it's a hard. I haven't rated it on Letterboxd yet, but I think it's probably gonna be, or no, maybe I have rated it. I did. Yeah, it's a 3.5. It's solid movie. Like I said, not best of the year, but, really, really solid. It's one of those movies that when you get to the end of the year will clearly be in, like, a top 50, top 75, whatever, and I would have never in a million years expected that going into it. So, good place to start. Um all right. Well, let's kick off this smorgasbord of movies that some of which you're going to be like, oh, I know what that is. And other movies you're going to think, I've never heard of that in a million years. Um, so I'm just going to pick a random one and have you start, Fugi. Maybe we start with another new release from this weekend. This one hit Netflix a few days ago. Remarkably Bright Creatures. First up, big picture, watch Skip, and then tell us a little bit about it and what you thought.
First instinct is definitely watch.
Okay.
Um, Again, prior to us doing this like a week ago, I had no clue what this movie was. Didn't know it was a book. Didn't know anything about it. Apparently, it's a very beloved book.
Oh,
And then
really?
then I started researching the director, Olivia Newman, which did Where the Crawdads Sing. So I'm
I
starting
did
to
see
see
that.
that she is starting to adapt these really renowned books and kind of going back off of that. A lot of, I guess, where did you fall? Where the Crawdads Sing? Were you a fan of that movie?
Yeah, I was mixed on it just because I had read the book,
Yeah.
and I felt like I know you hadn't read the book, and so you felt more of the like surprise and what they did in the third act with that. I was a little bit more upset about kind of how things were portrayed and twisted a little bit.
That's why I don't know what the people are saying about this compared to the book. Obviously, never read this book. So I thought it was really good. The little log line is through unlikely bonds formed during night shifts at a local aquarium, Tova, an elderly widow, learns a life changing discovery that may bring her joy and wonder once again. You know, that kind of hooks me immediately. It's Sally Field and Lewis Pullman, or kind of it's
Yeah,
just like it's a back and forth between the two, which that cast alone is kind of why I watched it. I think I'm at a point in movie watching where if I see Lewis Pullman, I'm in. I'll watch
yeah,
it.
he's having a heck of a run here.
Yeah, and I thought he was really, really good. But Sally Field is I can think I could say in every movie I've seen her in, she's innocent. The movie's bad. She was always great. She kind of has the life in most movies and kind of kills it here. But what the logline doesn't say is there's no saying about an octopus. There's an
Is it a
octopus in this movie.
is it a talking octopus?
No, I mean, it's talking. It has a voice, but it's an inner voice that we can hear, but the characters can't hear.
Okay.
So it's Alfred Molina is the octopus, which is a great octopus voice. But yeah, it's kind of just these two that form a bond with this octopus in a way, and he's healing parts of their past within not talking to them. Very weird concept, but it works for me. I really liked it.
I mean, it sounds like for a Netflix original, it's one of the better ones, which is not
Eh,
always the case.
And when you look at
What
the letterbox, it's a 3.8. So the public is liking it as well. Might be book lovers just giving it a 5 star because they read the book. Who knows? But
where do you think you'll land on it rating wise?
either a really, really, really high three or a low 3.5.
Okay.
Probably the low 3.5 because it was definitely a surprise because again knew nothing about it. I'm sure a lot of people probably didn't hear about it either. I saw it put on our list, and I went to Netflix and I didn't find it. Didn't realize it came out 2 days ago or yesterday, whenever. But yeah,
Yeah,
very
it's kinda
late
weird.
watch.
It's kinda weird with some of these Netflix new releases because sometimes you don't even feel like the movies exist at all because you'll just open it up and you'll see it, but it's not like you're seeing a TV commercial for it or anything like that. One shout on Lewis Pullman, and this is something that I actually meant to talk to you about, offline, but I'll just do it here. He had a movie at South by Southwest that I think sounds incredible, and I don't even know that it has distribution, so I don't know when it's coming out. But the log line is it follows a couple whose emotional states have supernatural effects on their surroundings, forcing them to evaluate whether their relationship is beneficial or harmful. And the couple is Lewis Pullman and Maya Hawke, which is like an immediate put it in front of me. I want to watch it for me. And if no one's picked this up, maybe we'll just need to form our own film acquisition distribution company and buy this one.
It got really good reviews out of
Yeah.
South by
Yeah,
Southwest.
I know. I follow a couple people on Letterboxd that saw it, and I was like, 1, I didn't even know this movie existed, but 2, I need to see it right now, which I think kinda just emphasizes what you're talking about with Lewis Pullman, where he just kinda has that thing at the moment where, you see him cast in something, it's kinda gonna be interesting to watch him versus, like, and I know we're spending too much time on the first movie, but him versus, like, a Glenn Powell, because I think they're kind of like occupying just a similar space in like their age and whatnot. I'm not saying they're necessarily going for the same sorts of things, but Lewis Pullman is presumably going to be a big part of the MCU going forward. And just will be interesting to watch his kind of star power shift and if it heads more. Obviously, Glenn Powell is way more famous at this point in time, but um, maybe some more value if you buy low on Lewis Pullman at this point.
I am much more excited to see a Lewis movie than I am a Glenn movie. If they were both released on the same day, I'm picking Lewis every time. I
Well, it seems like he's more interested in, like, more dramatic, like, thoughtful kinda
Yeah,
work.
yeah, yeah.
You think about what he did in The Testament of Anne Lee last year, I think that's a deeper and more profound than anything in Glenn's entire filmography, so, that says a lot.
Well, let's go back to Maggie Gyllenhaal. I think everyone's excited to
Oh,
hear
wow.
where we were talking about that. So let's talk about The Bride for a little bit.
All right. So The Bride, as you alluded to, is Maggie Gyllenhaal's second film. Her first film a few years ago called The Lost Daughter was one of my favorite movies of that year. So was excited whenever I heard that she was doing a sort of modern adaptation on Frankenstein, or more importantly, Frankenstein's Bride. But then there was just a lot leading up to this. So it was originally supposed to come out last fall, and then it got pushed, and then they weren't letting the press see it. And the closer that you got to it, you could just kind of tell that this one maybe was going to be a bit of a stinker. This is starring Jessie Buckley as the titular bride of Frankenstein, and maybe most importantly, Christian Bale actually played Frankenstein in this movie. But this cast, Fugi, was loaded. It was kind of bizarre because it was almost like every 2 seconds you were watching the movie, you were like, "Oh, you," like just constantly. Annette Bening's in it. Peter Sarsgaard's in it. John Magaro's in it. Jake Gyllenhaal's in it. Penelope Cruz is in it. Julianne Hough. Like you go down the list. This is one of the more baffling movies that I've seen in the past couple of years. And there are moments of this that work for me. So, for example, the stuff between Jesse Buckley and Christian Bale, I think was pretty interesting. But everything else is just so sloppy and inexcusable. I know every time you take a swing like this as a filmmaker, it's not necessarily going to land every single time, but the framing device with this one was so bizarre that the movie opens with Jessie Buckley is also, in addition to playing the bride, she's also playing Mary Shelley. And Mary Shelley like sort of inhabits the bride's body a couple of times throughout the movie and is like talking to her constantly. And so she'll be like, "Oh, Mary, you're in my head. You're in my head." But like the movie opens with like Mary Shelley kind of giving this like monologue, and then the bride like kind of falling down. I laughed a lot just so how silly a lot of it was. There's a lot of stuff in here that I think is exciting. There's a couple of musical sequences with Jake Gyllenhaal that are incredible. And it kind of just gives you a throwback to like a 40s, 50s kind of classical musical. But this one was a lot more of a miss for me than it was a hitting of the home run. So
Are
it's
we
a
s-
it's a definite skip for me.
are we still confident in Maggie Gyllenhaal moving forward?
I think that I am just because you can see that she was at least going for it, and she got Warner Brothers to sign off on this movie, and, like, I can see what the vision is on her part, I just don't think that the vision works at all. Like, I think she's very much trying to explore how, separating characters from the people that created them, and how much of Mary Shelley was in The Bride whenever she wrote it, and what does that authorship look like, and what does that look like in 2026 versus back whenever the novel was written, and all these things. It's just so much of a jumbled mess kinda all put together. And you could feel these kind of studio notes maybe that came throughout. They try to put this like murder mystery element of it in there, and that part just does not work at all. But I will say, one of the funniest moments for me in movies this entire year is that the movie sort of ends in this just like crazy rambunctious, really sort of like me too, like feminist mantra of a third act. And then it cuts to black at one point, and then the credit song is the Monster Mash, which was one of the more funny closing credits moments that I've ever seen in a movie. I know this one got absolutely trashed with reviews. They people have a point. I get honestly, if I see somebody defending this movie, I would get mad at them. So I'm glad that none of you are here to do that because I think it's a mess of a movie.
Let's save Jake Gyllenhaal. Let's get him in something great.
Well, I don't really fault Jake because if your sister comes to you and asks you to be in a movie, like, what are you gonna say?
Well,
I
I'm
think he
just
was.
saying between this and Guy Ritchie movies, let's pull him back to the light a little bit.
Yeah, we'll possibly have more on him next week as he stars in The Gray. But it kind of worked out that we started off with a watch on your end and a skip on my end with The Bride. Um, this is the one that it is maybe like the equivalent of The Bride in the sense that it just seems like a car crash that you just like can't look away from. I gotta know what you thought of Animal Farm. This is the who was a person that I can't even think.
Andy
The
Serkis.
Yes, Andy Serkis sort of reimagining, re-envisioning of the classic novel came out last weekend by Angel Studios. Is it a watch or a skip?
Oh, it's a skip for sure. The first thing I'm gonna say is we talked about the hunt for Gollum. Be scared. That's all I'm gonna say. It's where I'm worried about it. I don't know. I'm scared because the hunt for I'm gonna go off a little tangent about the hunt for Gollum. I don't know if Andy Serkis is able to pull source material and do his own thing based off that. Do I think he's a good director? He might be. He hasn't done anything where he's not pulling source material, but for me, he's 0 for 2 in that regard.
What else has he done other than Animal Farm?
Venom, Let There Be Carnage.
Oh, yeah, the classic
Yeah,
that was everyone's favorite movie of that year.
exactly. So what I want to see him do an original movie. Maybe he's actually amazing, but I've read Animal Farm. I don't have either of you have read it.
Yes,
I'm
I've
guessing.
I have read it. Yes.
Yeah, the ending is what I'm not afraid to say what happens at the end. Don't
Yeah,
watch this,
you're good.
either of you. The ending of the book is debatably like one of my favorite endings to a book. It literally shows him turn into like humans, they're interchangeable, they become what they most feared. And in the movie, he kind of does the opposite of that. The pigs win, they convert Napoleon back to being, or no, the pigs win though by like overthrowing Napoleon, if that makes sense. So it gets to the point where the book would technically be ending, where the humans are looking at Napoleon, they kind of are seeing each other, but then you just hear, "Is the story over?" And it's like these little kids saying it, and they're like, "No," and then these all the little piggies go and save the day and overthrow Napoleon. And basically, the message is, "Don't give up, kids. You can change anyone." Which is that a good message? Yes, but for the Animal Farm story, I this is a movie where I don't think it should have been kidified, if that makes sense.
Well, I've seen some comments too that it's like kind of odd where it's like you'll have this kind of classic line of like dialogue from the movie that you're just like it'll be like almost a direct lift from the book, but then it'll just be like stupid comedy that they're like I mean, I think the fact that Seth Rogen is one of the main stars of this movie kind of tells you the tone that they're going for with this. Like it's not supposed to be this like searing drama. Like it's supposed to be comedic, right?
Yeah, and I think that's where it ultimately fails because I don't think this book is supposed to be that way.
No, no, I don't
So
think any George Orwell
yeah,
book is.
exactly. So in a way, maybe I don't know if it's really as bad of a movie by itself. Maybe if you've never read Animal Farm, you can take a lot away from this and it'd be good. But if you have read that and you love that book, you're not gonna really like this because it kind of just feels like we're just stabbing George in the chest with this movie because you're kind of just resending everything he tried getting across, if that makes sense. There's
Well,
like
and
what
it
you said. There was an iconic line, all animals are equal. That's a very iconic, and then it shows Seth Rogen's Napoleon farting for 5 straight seconds.
Oh,
Like,
nice.
it's just like there's, like, jokes like that, there's people have said it, there's literally, like, a Cybertruck just in it, in the movie, just driving,
Oh.
like, it's very modern, which they kinda have to do that, but I didn't have a very good time with this movie.
Yeah, I know we all had kinda looked at the Letterbox reviews together and was kind like, anytime I see a Letterbox curve that poorly, I'm like, did somebody hurt somebody? Like, what did, like, the director come and spit in everyone's face that saw the movie? But I guess it kinda makes sense with what you're saying. So,
The
it
thing
sounds
that's
like
funny is I think if we go to his IMDb, there's probably 4 movies of Gaten Matarazzo, and in the last week, I've seen 2 of those. I've seen way too much of this kid.
oh, he's in Animal Farm?
He's the main character. That's the other thing, they create characters in this movie that aren't in the books. Like, the main character in this movie was never in the book,
Oh,
and
interesting.
his name is Lucky, and he's supposed to be, like, the moral compass. So every time
Oh,
Napoleon's doing something wrong, he's like, "Hey, maybe we shouldn't do this," like, trying to steer him in the right. Yeah, it was the one reason that, it was halfway decent is because it was an hour 30, so it was a short movie
oh.
watch, which was, definitely that's a positive. They didn't overstay their welcome there.
It doesn't sound like there was too much to stay around for anyway, though. Well,
That's a stacked cast, though. I don't know if you've taken a look at that cast. We're talking
I
about She
have.
Detective, that's the same way.
Yeah, and you kinda wonder what I mean, they all signed on for the script, obviously. They liked what they read on the paper, but it sounds like even what was on the paper wasn't ideal, unless there was just a bunch of stuff that was changed to it. Um, I will, be taking your advice on this one and will not be seeing this because originally I was like, "Oh, I'll wait till it comes on streaming or something, and I'll check it out." I'm good now. I don't need to do
I
that.
will say the letterbox curve is a bit excessive. That it's not a half-star movie. Whether the book is a masterpiece or not, this 1.8 and everyone giving it a half star is kinda crazy. Um,
Yeah, I think people like to be dramatic with that kinda stuff, though,
yeah, which
of
makes sense.
when they feel slighted or feel like something is being disrespected.
Let's see. Let's go on
Let's
to
let's let's
uh,
hear let's hear one from Trey. Trey, since I knew it's fresh on your mind since you just saw it, give me the lay of the land on Fuse.
Yeah, I figured you were gonna say this. So,
We're
just
just getting all
well,
our we're getting all our griefs. We're getting all our gripes off our
yeah.
chest.
So Fuse, like going into it, I knew I was going out of my comfort zone with this movie.
Mm.
This kind of has like a generic action bank heist movie vibe to it, but it kind of had like an interesting twist in the plot going in, so I thought maybe I would enjoy it. I did not. This was all of the tropes in like generic crappy action movies that I really don't like. I thought the dialogue was really cringy in a lot of places. None of the characters were like developed really at all. Um the second half of the movie kind of has like some interesting twists to it. But again, like you're not really invested in any of the characters. It's set in the UK, which I didn't even know going in, which kind of added a extra. I don't know. For some reason, that bugged me probably a little more than it should have. But I don't know. This is just a crappy action movie. That if you like that kind of thing, just a generic bank heist action movie, then maybe you'll like this. But it's a skip for me.
there were some big
So
stars in this, right?
yeah, it was kind of a loaded cast.
Yeah, there was.
Aaron
The
Taylor
names are escaping me.
Johnson,
Yes, Aaron Taylor Johnson. Yeah.
Theo James, is that right? Yeah, Theo James.
Yes, and
Yeah,
that's
Sam Worthington. Yeah.
yeah, and yeah. Like I said, I mean, the acting was okay. It's just none of the characters had any depth to them at all. They were just like kind of blank slates that were just never filled out. They were just going throughout the movie. So
So is it called Fuse? Is it about like a group of people that try to like defuse bombs or something?
Kind of. So it's basically the plot is that there are these people who are planning a bank heist, and they planted a bomb inside of like a residential, or not residential, like a downtown area, and they made it look like an old World War II bomb that had just been like found in a construction site. And
Oh.
so they evacuate basically the entire town to defuse this bomb, but the bank robbers are like using this evacuation as like a cover to rob the bank, since like the town's evacuated basically. Um, so that's kind of like just the plot, like the beginning of the movie. Um, and then there's kind of some interesting twists about like, who's in on it and who's not. And yeah, it's if you like this kind of thing, this generic bank heist action movie, go for it. But it's not my kind of movie. Um, so I
I'll
think I'm just
if people like that kind of movie, I'll actually give you a recommendation. This director David Mackenzie, he had a movie that came out last year in 2025 called Relay. I don't know if either of you have seen the movie, but it stars Lily James and Riz Ahmed. Sam Worthington is also in that one as well. But it is a super, super, super kind of smart, like honestly, kind of spy, like espionage type movie. It's kind of a thriller in some regards as well. Kind of turns into an action movie towards the end of it. But I love when I'm watching a movie like that. Like National Treasure is kind of a thing in some regard where you're like watching a piece of it and you're like, oh, that's super smart. I would have never thought you could do that if you were in that sort of situation. And Relay has like 7 of those moments where it's just like, this is so cool. I didn't even know something like this existed. So you should people should check that. I think it's streaming on Netflix. So if people are interested in that sort of genre, I would check this out over real or over what was yours called? Fuse? Yeah, over Fuse.
confused. Yeah, yeah, and I was definitely the wrong person to enjoy this movie. Like, it was dealt a losing hand with me watching it.
I'm
So people
sure
who
it would
like
have been
action
even
movies more.
worse. If me or Aaron would have seen it, it probably would have been even worse. Especially
Yeah,
me.
Yeah,
It's not my type of movie.
I feel like you were probably the best option there. All right, Fugi, make someone else shout something out.
Let's just continue the hate watch a little bit.
Oh,
Let's go Bunny Lover.
oh, wow. Okay.
So,
You're
2025 Sundance movie.
Yeah, so it's kind of funny. We were talking about this one last week, Fugi, and it's kind of hard to even remember back to when we saw this. So this was, as you alluded to, we saw this in January of 2025, but it did not come out until April of 2026. This is the first film from Catherine Zhu. She's a Chinese American filmmaker, and the log line is as follows: a drifting Chinese American cam girl struggles to navigate an increasingly toxic relationship with one of her clients. Let me stress that that relationship is extremely toxic. While rekindling her relationship with her dying estranged father. Um, I think this is a easy skip for both you and me, Fugi. Um, I think part of what is cool about Sundance is you get to kind of find the next generation of filmmakers, like sort of find their voice. Cooper Rife is one of those directors for me. Sean Wong with his film Dee a few years ago. Molly Gordon with Theater Camp in 2023. But sometimes you watch a movie at Sundance and you're just like, why? Not only did this movie get into the festival, but like you can just really, it's still someone really trying to find their voice. And this one just felt like aimless from the get go, and like uncomfortable in a sense that not even there's films that are it needs to be uncomfortable, but this one just felt unnecessarily uncomfortable,
That was
right?
exactly what I was gonna say. Is it was unnecessary. There are certain scenes in this that like, as much as I would love to forget them, I don't think I can. Like, and I think we can like try to put piece to piece together. With the title "Bunny Lover," I'll just leave it at that. Um,
Yeah, let's just say that one of her customers on this campsite loves to watch her do some things to bunnies. We'll leave it at that. Like I said, I do to be nice to this person because I know this is their first movie. I don't want to be like super mean to them. I do think that she does a good job of sort of capturing the anxiety and social challenges that can come from being raised in an online world. But man, the whole thing just feels hollow. And the whole reason I even watched it was because her one of her best friends actually is Rachel Sennett, and she is in the film, and that's the whole reason I watched it. She's also a producer on the movie, so it's just a good reminder that just because you see somebody that you like in a movie does not mean that you have to watch it.
I was just gonna say, I don't remember this very well. They obviously the director, I don't remember the name. They obviously did something right because I gave this a 1 star. Now, I don't know why I didn't give it a half star. Something about that watch pushed it up to a 1 star. I think it was something with the father, the relationship with the father. I think there was something positive in that. Um, so, it wasn't the worst movie I had seen.
That's your compliment is I gave it a 1 star, not a half
Yes.
star.
Yeah.
Look at you. I think I gave this one 1.5. Like I said, you can see some promise there, and I'd certainly be intrigued in seeing something if I heard that it was getting good reviews and seeing another movie from her. But yeah, this one is a hard pass for me. Um all right. I feel like we're talking about bottom of the barrel stuff. Let's talk about something that is worth recommending. Um I swear, Fugi, I know that you and I both saw this one. Why don't you tell us a little bit about it?
Yeah, so I think this movie obviously has been in the headlines since, award season. It's kind of was thrown into the picture with the BAFTAs. Obviously it wasn't good what happened at the BAFTAs, but it did bring to light this movie. I didn't heard about this movie prior to the BAFTAs.
Yeah.
So when that all happened, it kind of made me really want to watch this movie.
Yeah, and
Um,
just to kind of explain to anyone that's listening and are like, "What are you talking about? What went on with this movie?" So this is a movie about it's inspired by the life of John Davidson, and he is sort of charting his journey with Tourette's, and he has become an advocate for Tourette's, sort of in Great Britain and around the world. And at the BAFTAs earlier this year, the actor who portrays him, Robert Aramayo, he was nominated for Best Actor at the BAFTAs and actually ended up winning Best Actor at the BAFTAs, which was a big deal. And so to celebrate the movie, the BAFTAs invited John Davidson to the ceremony. And while some of the Sinners cast was on stage, he, as people with Tourette's do, he kind of ticked and shouted some very unfortunate things while Delroy Lindo and Michael B. Jordan were up on stage. And so it sort of kind of created this whole online controversy around the movie. And should he have been there? Should he not? Should he apologize? Should he not? But Fugi, I thought that knowing about the controversy before the movie and then seeing the movie actually made me think completely different about the controversy because I feel like I learned a whole heck of a lot about Tourette syndrome and what actually goes on there.
that's what I was gonna say. It was very unfortunate that it happened. But it happened and it brought the light of the movie to the public, and hopefully that has a lot of people watch the movie prior like, just because that happened, and I would
Yeah.
agree that I my view has changed on that, or I don't even remember what I really did view, but it is a
Yeah.
very moving movie, and it would be hard for you to watch that and go back to the Baptist and just screaming at this guy for what he did. I don't think you could do that.
Well, and part of the whole point of the movie is there are these characters in this kind of sort of fictionalized version of John Davidson that are constantly telling him like, "Don't apologize for something that you have no control over." There's sort of this like motherly figure in the movie that just kind of repeatedly tries to drive that home to them. But boy, this is a hard recommend for me. Like, I was really caught off guard by how much I loved this. I think you probably will agree with this, but from the opening scene, it does such a great job of drawing you in to this being an engaging story. So the film opens with him being coronated by the queen in this ceremony, and as you can imagine, he shouts some things at the queen, and it sort of just sets you kind of off on this rollicking journey. It's informative, engaging, but it's also kind of moving all at the same time. But I did want to talk a second because I think you had a similar reaction about this performance that Robert Aramayo gives as the this John Davidson character. Um, easily the best performance I've seen all year, and I can't imagine that I'm gonna see 5 better by the time we get to the end of the year. Like, let's get him nominated for an Oscar.
I mean, I would say it was generational. I genuinely think that was I think if he would have been nominated for the Oscar last year, he would have been my favorite. I don't think I would have had anyone over him. And
Yeah.
again, obviously, we haven't seen a lot of coming out this year. He's obviously my number one. I would not be I'm a huge Timmy defender. I will defend him to the day I die. If Dune 3 is a masterpiece and he gives it an incredible performance, Robert will probably still be my favorite. Like, I I don't know if anyone else could have played that role the way he did. It was kinda like you would think that he actually has Tourette's.
You would, yeah. I mean, it's the physicality of the performance. There were multiple times when he's like moving his neck all around and everything, and like constantly in every scene. Like you almost kind of don't even know how he was focusing to deliver his lines. And I mean, we'll see what happens with the Oscars. It's sort of a weird situation where it was eligible for the BAFTAs last year and then eligible for the Oscars this year. But I actually wrote this up in my letterboxd review of the film. But since 2010, there's a major track record for people that win the BAFTA for going on to then winning the Oscar. Since 2010, every single person that has won the BAFTA award for Best Actor in a leading role has gone on to win the Oscar, except for two people, and that was Austin Butler and Chiwetel Ejiofor. Um, and even though they didn't win, they at least all got nominated. So if he doesn't even get nominated, like this will be a statistical anomaly. Obviously, some weirdness with it being a BAFTA movie last year and an Oscar movie this year, but I know I'm going to be stumping for him, and I hope this is a performance we don't forget when we get to the end of the year.
Yeah, I agree. Let's go on to a movie I
So
actually or
that one, but that I know it's a recommend for me.
oh,
I'm
definitely.
assuming it's a definite
It
recommend for you.
If I were to rewatch the drama and I lower it, that could be my number 1 of the year. It's number
Yeah,
2 right now. Very highly, highly recommend.
yeah.
Um,
It was released. It's playing in a couple of theaters here at the moment. But I'm hoping that it will eventually come to. It's a Sony Pictures classic movie, so hopefully will eventually come to Netflix here in the U.S. and more people will get a chance to see it.
yeah. So a movie I actually started last night but fell asleep prior to finishing it. I would like to hear your thoughts on Toe, Aaron.
Yeah. Toe is the new film from Stephanie Lang. And this is one of those movies, not dissimilar to The Bride, that I would kind of categorize into the group of how do you get people this talented all together and make a movie that is this uninteresting. This one is gonna be a pretty hard skip for me. The cast of this movie is insane. So this is Rose Byrne, Dominic Sessa, Demi Lovato, Simon Rex, Ariana DeBose, and Octavia Spencer. It is interesting that I feel like Ariana DeBose being cast in a movie post her winning an Oscar is sort of becoming like a curse on movies because um, she just has not picked good movies since then. There are some line readings by Demi Lovato and Ariana DeBose in this movie that may be some of the worst line readings I've ever heard in an entire movie. I think they just cast Demi Lovato because she gets to seem like a Christmas song at one point in the movie. The movie follows this. It's kind of this based on real life story about this lady who is sort of living out of her car, and then her car gets she says stolen, but, like, I think I mean, it just gets towed, like, she's in the kind of the wrong place at the wrong time, and she kinda has to go on this, like, court battle. Dominic Sessa is her lawyer, and it's this, like, year-long court battle to try to get her car back while she's, like, living in a shelter in the meantime and all that. I don't really know why this needed to be a movie. I think it's an interesting story. I'm sure that has inspired a lot of people. Maybe it could have been a low budget documentary, but there were just so many elements of this that not only felt cliche, but also just felt like, why are we sitting here watching this? It was kind of a chore to get through in a lot of ways. And I would recommend that no one else waste their time on it. There's a reason you haven't heard of this movie. If you're thinking Toe, what is this? Came out a few weeks ago, only played in a couple theaters. There's a reason you don't know what it is. This one was very much dumped. It actually premiered at the Toronto Film Festival last fall, as a lot of movies do. And as a lot of movies do that premiere at TIFF, this one just kind of died on impact. I would not finish this one if I were you, Fugi.
I will take your advice there and probably
I will s
not.
I will say, though, I know you love Dominic Sessa. I think he's quite good, in the film. He doesn't get too much to do, but the scenes that is in, are at least, somewhat interesting. But, in general, I would stay away from this one. Um, I guess we'll just stay kinda on the negative train. I'm curious to hear, what you thought of, the Theo Von movie, Busboys, Fugi.
So, Busboy, I mean, you look at that cast, Theo Vaughn, you see a starring Theo Vaughn. Do you know what you're getting yourself into? I will say with a straight face, I was pleasantly surprised with this movie.
Oh.
I saw a lot of people. I mean, it's a crazy curve. I mean, it's David Spade and Theo Vaughn. They are not the people that are going to. I mean, I'm looking right now, I've only seen Grown Ups from David Spade and, the Hotel Transylvania movies, not a name that I'm expecting to make a good movie, but it's one of those movies where it was so bad that it's just funny because it's so bad. So I was laughing at certain scenes. I mean, it's literally I would say this was a parody movie, but it was not parodying anything. It was just, like, it
Was
kinda,
it was it just super low budget? Like,
uh
as or just as far as, like, it was just so poorly written that it was
everything. No,
just
definitely the written parts. I mean, there's just like these parts where like literally the last thing you could expect a character to say, they're gonna say it, and probably 10 times the funny, hilarious, out of pocket. I would really like you guys to watch this. So I'll say this: if I win this movie draft, you might be watching Bus Boys because it's
Wait,
like
am I seeing correctly that is Tim Dillon in it? I don't even know if you
um,
know who that is. I see him on
I
the
mean,
cast
yes,
list
he's
here.
in it. Oh yeah, yeah, he's a main character.
That intrigues me. I know you like Tim Dillon too, Trey.
Yeah, I don't know if he's how much I would like him as a movie actor, but I think also Bobby Lee is maybe in this very briefly, another
Yeah,
comedian.
he's in it for,
Um,
like, one scene, I think. There's a lot of comedians that you would see nowadays that have, like, one scene, very out of pocket
yeah.
scenes, but, I mean, just reading, like, a log line of this, it's these guys literally are trying to make their life by becoming they're bus boys, and they're trying to work their way up to being a server. That shows where they're at in life, obviously. Again, really funny. I would not be shocked if I rewatched this one day. So it is a skip, but like if you're with a group of friends and you want a really badly funny movie to watch, I would say watch it. Like have fun with it. Aaron, I would know you've seen this in the past. Very similar to like a Fred type movie.
Oh, yeah.
You where
Yeah.
it's like
Well,
it's
sometimes you just want a movie that you just, like, can
exactly.
throw on and turn your brain off and just is really stupid.
This might be a cover movie for me in the future. I don't
Oh,
know.
wow. That's high
I
praise.
was going into it thinking this is gonna be a definite half star, which on a lot of parameters it is a half star, but, I was entertained the whole time, kinda didn't want it to end.
I would love to hear the story of, like, how this movie even came to be because, it was a movie that, like, wasn't really marketed or anything, and then, like, all of a sudden was just like, "Oh, it's in some theaters," and I hadn't really heard too much about it, and this, director's filmography is, not, too promising. It looks like a lot of, like, straight to VOD type stuff. Maybe the hope is that once it hits video on demand, all of Theo Von's, fans will buy it on VOD, and it will make a ton of money. But I hope you do not win the movie draft because, I don't know that I wanna have to watch this. Um, Trey,
Um,
why don't you tell us a little bit about, Waste Man? This is one that, also premiered at Toronto last year. Really, really, really promising cast, and I've been excited to check it out, but I haven't got a chance to yet, so curious to hear your thoughts.
Yeah, you're talking about the good cast. What originally um, drew me to this movie was David Johnson, who I really like. I thought he was the best part in The Long Walk last year. I think he's a really good
Also
actor.
gives a great performance in Alien Romulus from, 2024, I think, yeah.
Okay. Yeah, he's the main character in this movie. It's really it's a prison movie, and it's kind of his character dealing with He's getting out of prison soon, and kind of all that comes with that, like readjusting to the new life. He has a kid that he has never really met, and he has to kind of slowly get introduced to him and be a part of his life and stuff like that. But he's also got to, in the prison, stay on good behavior for a certain amount of months before he's released. And he kind of has some trouble with that because he has friends in the prison that he wants to help, defend from these like prison gangs and stuff. So yeah, it's a really good movie about you know, the life in prison, but also getting readjusted once you're getting out and rehabilitated and all that. And yeah, the acting is incredible. Not just by David Johnson, but everybody. Tom Blythe is really good in it. Alex Hassel.
Yeah, I don't know that you knew whenever you said the name, but, Tom Blythe is, like, one of Fugi's, like, favorite guys, so
Yeah, I've seen him in stuff before, but I don't know exactly what. But yeah, he's really good in it.
yeah, he was in the new Hunger Games movie, in
Oh, okay.
2023. He played the, young version of Snow, is that right, Fugi?
Yeah, yeah.
And then, yeah, he was in People We Meet on Vacation earlier this year on Netflix, and then, another one that we saw as a Sundance movie that I feel like is incredibly underrated and has not been seen enough. It's called Plainclothes, from 2025. I don't know if you've thought about that movie since we saw it at Sundance, Fugi, but, someone you think has a lot of promise.
Yeah, I've thought about that movie. I wish I could rewatch that movie. I wish it would get picked up by someone. If it hasn't, I don't really know what's going on with that
Well,
movie.
yeah, it's on, you can watch it on Mubi now.
Oh,
I
didn't
know
know
you
that.
may not have a Mubi subscription, but, it did get a small theatrical release last year, and you can either I think you can buy it on Apple for, like, $5 or you can, rent it or you can get Mubi subscription. So, I look forward to seeing Waste Man because, I have, had that on the watch list for forever. I don't feel like it was, playing in, too many, theaters. So, Trey, I'm
Yeah,
assuming David Johnson is somebody that I think we all do. We see a lot of, hope for going forward of him as an
y-
actor.
yeah. I mean, The Long Walk was the first thing I'd seen him in. But yeah, I thought he was, yeah, like I said, the best character in that. And I guess he's early 30s, so yeah, he's pretty young. I mean, he's got long career ahead of him, hopefully.
Yeah,
I
his
didn't
his
realize.
breakout his
Oh, go ahead.
breakout was on his breakout was on Industry. I don't know if you've seen any of that HBO
Oh,
show, but
no, I have not. But I didn't realize until kind of doing research after this movie that he is deaf, the actor. Um,
oh,
and
really?
I mean, obviously you would never know because he doesn't play deaf characters, but I mean, that's another kind of hurdle that he probably has to, uh, you know, get through when acting. It's kind of impressive that there's never any sign of that in any of the characters he plays, which is pretty impressive.
Huh. Yeah, I didn't know that. It's kind of interesting. I think he even has something in his Alien Romulus character that would make you think he was deaf, but I didn't realize that was like maybe an actual thing. He has a movie coming out and I think it's in post right now, so hopefully it comes out in the next year or so. But it's from this I think it's A24. It's from this director India Donaldson who directed this movie called Good One from a few years ago that was like one of my I think it was 2024. But it's him, Paul Dano, Cooper Hoffman, Alfred Molina, and it's sort of like a drug dealer and his buddies kind of embarking on a cross country road trip. And I'm super excited about that one because it seems like a good cast, and he's choosing the kind of projects that just make you think that he understands sort of what his runway as an actor is. There's also been a long rumored movie that Coleman Domingo is going to direct, and he is going to actually play the singer Sammy Davis Jr. And Sydney Sweeney's going to play Kim Novak. So that to me, that has like Oscar potential for him kind of circled on it. And excited to see what happens for him as an actor going forward.
Well, let's go on to a movie that I want to see, but I would have a feeling you're going to say don't see it, Aaron. Let's talk about reminders of him.
Oh, yeah. So Reminders of Him is the latest addition to the Colleen Hoover cinematic universe, as I am calling them. And the first 2 movies were what? Help me remember this, Fugi. So the Reminders of Him was the one with McKenna Grace and Mason Thames, and then the one before that was It Ends With Us, is that right? The
Yep.
Blake Lively movie?
Yep.
Those were 2 movies that I would not in any regard say are good movies at all, and yet this movie, Reminders of Him, makes those 2 sort of look like they're, Citizen Kane and some of the best movies ever made. Um, I am convinced that if I keep going to these Colleen Hoover movies and showing up to them alone, that I'm gonna get put on, like, some kind of list somewhere because it just seems like psychotic behavior. But this one is starring, someone that I know you like a lot, Micah Monroe, sort of kinda carved out, scream queen, sort of lane for her. Also Bradley Whitford, Laura Graham, Tyreek Withers, and like almost every Colleen Hoover movie just has an absolutely delusional plot. So the Micah Monroe character has recently gotten out of prison and she's trying to get back with her daughter, who she gave birth to while she was in prison, but her boyfriend at the time, like essentially like died in a car wreck, and that's why she's in prison because she was convicted of that. And her passed away boyfriend's best friend. So that's the character played by Tyreek Withers, just kind of raising the kid, and so she's trying to like creep back like into their lives. And there's moments of this that are sweet, but ultimately this one is a very 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 hard skip. I think if you're in a movie like this, seeing it in the theaters, and it's a kind of movie that it's like a girls like going with their friends and like just like a girls night out sort of movie to see, and you know when they're all laughing about like how cringy some of the needle drops are and some of the dialogue is, you know it's a bad movie when that's happening because like I'm typically the one that's laughing at it. So it was a kind of a fun movie to see in theaters because like everyone was just kind of like laughing about how cheesy it was together. But in general, I would say stay away from this one. Fingers crossed that this is going to be the worst Colleen Hoover movie that's released this year, because later this year we're gonna get Verite with Dakota Johnson, Josh Hartnett, and Anne Hathaway. So hopefully that one is better than this one. I will probably continue to see all of the Colleen Hoover novel to movie adaptations, but I'm yet to see one that I think is a good movie. So I'm waiting for that day very patiently.
We're just watching for the plots to see how crazy they can get.
Yeah, I think that somebody said it after It Ends With Us, but I do wonder, like, is Colleen Hoover okay? I think that that's worth checking in on at some point in time because she writes some pretty delusional books, but they are very much bestsellers. So maybe there's a lesson in there somewhere. If you, Trey, if you want to just start becoming a book writer, just choose the most deranged plots ever, and you may have a hit on your hands.
So good.
Fugi, why don't you inform us about Pizza Movie? This is the straight to Hulu movie that came out a couple weeks ago.
So I started this right when it came out 3 weeks ago, and I got like 15 minutes in and instantly stopped it because I was kind of annoyed and didn't like it. Um, did finish it, and I will admit that I was wrong. I actually will say this is a watch.
Oh,
Um, I think a lot of people would. It's actually weird because a lot of people are saying it's really bad. A lot of people are saying it's good. I think it kind of the time you watch it, the right mindset. Obviously, if you wanna, watch this movie and you're drunk or high, you're gonna adore this movie. I would just to be
I've
honest.
heard that it's that kind of movie.
Yeah, I mean, that's basically what the characters are doing in the movie is they get extremely high off this drug and they're just kinda the entire plot of the movie is they have to get this pizza to get off the drug. That's basically it, and there's like 5 stages to this drug that it's actually that was the part once you get to that part, it kinda sets off into a positive direction. But this was the second movie with Gaten Matarazzo that I was talking about, which I actually really liked him in this movie. Um, still seen
A-
too much of him, but he was good.
Am I seeing correctly that Daniel Radcliffe is in this movie?
I don't think so.
Oh, it says that he is Butterfly. I don't know
Oh,
who or
okay.
what
Then
that
yeah,
is, but
yes, he's a voice actor. I did not know
oh,
that was
oh,
him.
it's an actual butterfly. Okay.
Yes, he is. There's at one point one of the characters, one of the stages is they switch bodies with someone. So one of the
Oh.
characters switches into the butterfly. That's actually really funny knowing that's him now. Um, but yeah, it's It's good. Funny enough, the character, the one that plays the second assistant in Devil Wears Prada 2,
Oh,
um,
Caleb Heron?
yes, he is in this. It was kind of funny. I had no clue this guy was prior to a week ago, and then
Oh,
see 2 straight movies with him, but definitely not a great movie, definitely not the best movie you're ever gonna see in your life, but it's very fun, and again, you watch this with a group of friends. This is different than Bus Boys. That one is objectively just bad. This one, you can definitely take away a lot of stuff. Definitely college people, if they watch this too. If I would've watched this first
yeah.
year in college, I would have found a lot of positives in that, but not too
So
much to say
maybe
about it.
grandma, grandpa listening to this, not a watch for them, but, for the right person, you would recommend.
Yeah, but maybe, grandma and grandpa, it brings them back to the good days when they were in college. So who knows?
What are you gonna rate this one, or have you already rated it?
I think I'm gonna give it a 3. That's where I was definitely borderline watch
Okay.
or skip, but I think I'm leaning watch for the right group of people in the right time. Let's get into some Mother Mary,
Oh, yeah, I'm
one
glad
that
you're
is
I was waiting for you to ask me about one that, like, I actually enjoyed and is fun to talk about. So this is the new film from, David Lowery, a guy that I know that you and me both, like a lot of his stuff, Fuki. He did The Green Knight, he did A Ghost Story, he did, the Peach Dragon, adaptation for Disney, in my opinion, one of the better, if not the best live action, adaptations for Disney. Also did Peter Pan and Wendy, which I feel differently about that than Peach Dragon. But Mother Mary is essentially this. The way it was being marketed is sort of this like pop star movie with Anne Hathaway sort of playing this kind of pop star figure. You can definitely feel that Lowry is sort of drawing on a lot of kind of current pop stars as inspiration for this Mother Mary character. Taylor Swift is presumably one of them. Probably also like Lana Del Rey, maybe a little bit of Beyonce in there. Also maybe some like Madonna from a while ago. But essentially, it's a movie about her reconnecting with an old fashion designer of hers. Someone who you can tell pretty early that she is sort of betrayed, and she sort of has to go out of her way to reconnect with this person. And the movie is completely different than what I thought it was gonna be. I thought it was gonna be kind of this, like, giant epic and, like, all these concert sequences, and there are some of those movies kinda interspersed, throughout the movie, but really it's a two-hander between Anne Hathaway and Michaela Cole, and it's some of the best acting that you will see from Anne Hathaway. I mean, honestly, maybe one of my favorite performances from her, just very, very, very physical performance from her, and a great Michaela Cole performance opposite of her, but also kind of got these other characters to kind of fill out this world. Kaya Gerber's in it, Hunter Schafer's in it, FKA Twigs is also in it. Um, it kind of morphs into like a lot of David Lowery movies do. It kind of morphs into a ghost story in a lot of ways. But it's just a really, really, really profound movie about art and the artists who make it, and can art heal past wounds, and when you make something, does it become a part of you? And just a lot of very, very, very deep themes that it's exploring. I think this one has been a controversial one for me. It's a hard recommendation. I had a great time with this and can't wait to watch it again because I think it's going to be really rewarding on a second watch. But if you're the kind of person that you don't have a lot of patience while you're watching a movie, this is 1,000% not the movie for you, because it is the slowest of slow burns. And it's not like it necessarily even culminates in something that is like super actionist or adventurous. I will say the soundtrack for this movie is an absolute banger. Anne Hathaway recorded some like real pop kind of type songs. She worked with Jack Antonoff and Charlie XCX to make the songs. And I would not be surprised if some of those songs end up on my Spotify Wrapped for the year. I really hope you get a chance to see this one at some point, Fugi, because it's worth discussing at some point.
I had the chance to see this or Animal Farm and picked Animal Farm, so, yeah, I'll watch it when it comes. I would assume it'll be on streaming at some point, this
Yeah,
year.
since it's A24, it will probably be on HBO Max at some
Yeah.
point, I would think. So I look forward to that whenever you get a chance to see it. A movie that you and Trey have both seen that I have not seen. What is your all's opinion on The Undertone from early March? Is this one a skip or a watch for both of you?
For me, it's definitely a watch.
Yeah, yeah,
Well,
definitely a
let's
watch.
let's 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 clarify this though, given the genre. So this is one of your another one of your demented horror movies. Is this a watch for everybody? Is this a watch for people that are into the genre? How would you categorize that?
Trey, what do you think? That answer?
Well, I mean, if you don't like horror movies, then yeah, you're probably not. I mean, this is a horror movie. It is scary. But I mean, I honestly just think it's a really good movie also. Like it's I mean, it was incredibly low budget, which was one thing I didn't like notice when I was watching it, but when I looked it up afterwards, it had a $500,000 budget. Um, but it was the it uses like there's so many scenes where the camera is just like panning basically in a 360 while, you know, maybe we should talk about the plot of the movie before we actually go into
Yeah,
this.
yeah. Why don't you set the scene? Yeah, or
Basically
Fig you can, whoever.
yeah, well, Foogie, if you want to.
No, you got it. You're
You
good.
can. Okay. All right. Well, this girl is recording this true crime podcast with another person. It's a remote thing, and they get emailed these audio recordings. I think 10 of them, and they start like kind of going through them on their podcast, and slowly over the course of them listening to these audio recordings over multiple over multiple days, um, they very creepy and disturbing things start happening in her house and also maybe to this guy she's recording the podcast with. And it kind of turns into like her house is basically haunted by, demons and typical horror movie stuff. But yeah, like I was saying, the cinematography, it's so good. Like while they're recording the podcast, the camera will basically be just like spinning 360, and it's so good at building suspense because it's like so many like corners of this house are like slowly being revealed, and you're like, oh, is there going to be like a demon or something on around this corner? And while she's listening to these really creepy audio files, and it does such a good job of like pairing these really creepy sounds with like really clever cinematography and on a like a really low budget, like I found out later. So yeah, it's definitely a watch for me.
Yeah, back to the camera, it was like certain times they would
Yeah.
in a lot of horror movies, it just they set the camera on one spot and you obviously half the screen is the person, the other half the screen is just like black. In every horror movie, you expect, a demon to walk out or some creepy monster. But like a lot of times, this movie, nothing happens. But like the suspense of the movie and the sound design, you expect something to happen every single time. So like it amplifies the experience. To me, I would describe this as like you're sitting around a campfire telling ghost stories. And then like, cause it kind of is just like we're listening to the story through these videos. And yeah, creepy things start happening around the house, but it's just audio based. Like we're not seeing these videos happening. So a lot of imagination has to be put into it. I think it's just when you think of horror, we get a lot of the same horror, every year, every day. This feels creative in a way, especially with the budget you're talking about. I haven't seen a horror movie like this really. There's been certain ones like the Zoom type movies. I don't know if you've ever seen like Host. That is a cult classic where it's literally just friends on a Zoom and then everyone starts getting haunted. This I think is better. I didn't like Host, but a lot of people love it. And I think this set up it was kind of in my opinion, a very slow burny horror. Um, till the very end where it kind of just like goes off the rails a little bit in a good way. Um, this is one of the few movies that did scare me. Can't really explain why it scared me, but I felt uneasy after I watched this. I do
Yeah,
think you could watch this, Aaron.
Yeah, I'm going to whenever I think I've told you all this, but I have an easier time with horror movies whenever it's not in the theater. So I know I'm a wimp, but I will watch this one. Again, since it's A24, I'm presuming it'll hit HBO Max at some point here soon.
I
So
do not. I don't understand that take. I am 50 times more scared in my own home.
oh no, I mean you just have more control over the environment whenever you're in your own home.
But also, if you're like, if I'm watching a movie alone in my room and it's a horror movie, like that freaks me out. I would rather be in a movie theater with other people around me jumping at the same jump scares.
Yeah, but, like, the sound is 1,000 times louder, and I do
True.
regret that
Yeah,
piece of it is I'm sure the sound design in this is pretty cool, just
it
given that
is.
it's a
Yeah.
podcast, but,
Yeah, one more thing about the sound design for just quickly is there's a lot of moments where she's like putting on noise canceling headphones and you kind of get this like effect like all the ambient noise around her goes away. And then
mm,
while she's wearing these headphones, there's a lot of moments where you're listening to these audio recordings, but you kind of get that feeling you have sometimes when you're wearing noise canceling headphones is you hear a noise and you can't really tell if it was what you were listening to or something like one room over, like
yeah.
something crashing one room over or something. So there's a lot of moments like that where she is like listening to this audio recording, but then she's like, "Did that actually happen?" Like right behind me. So
Mm.
there's a lot of fun stuff like that.
Have you seen the movie from, like, 1 or 2 years ago, Trey, called Red Rooms?
I don't think so. No.
You
Is it
should,
kind of similar?
you've seen it, right, Foogie?
Yes, it is a
Yeah.
banger. I love that
It's
movie.
it when you were just talking about someone, like, having headphones on and, like, engaging with something on a computer screen, there's a scene, in that actually, a couple of scenes in that movie that are, like, incredible at building tension, with that. Definitely worth, recommendation. I wouldn't say it's a horror movie, but it's definitely, well, maybe it is a horror movie in a way.
Yes, that is a horror movie.
It's definitely a thriller, if not a horror movie. Alright, Fugi, shout one out.
Let's go back to Sundance. Let's talk about a movie me and you saw, Aaron. Let's talk about Omaha.
Oh
Uh,
boy. That's a hard pivot from Undertone, because this is maybe one of, if not the saddest movies that I have ever seen. We saw this in January of 2025, and there are moments from this movie that are going to be seared into my brain forever. Um, it follows John Magaro sort of as this dad who is taking his kids on this road trip. He just kind of wakes them up one morning and they just start kind of heading on this journey. And you don't really know where they're going. You don't know why they're going where they're going. And as the movie goes along, sort of bits and pieces of information get shared. If you made it through the entire movie without crying, when the credits start rolling, you will bawl your eyes out if you haven't started crying before then. Um, this is, I'm sure it's the same way for you, Fugi, but I'll never forget this movie.
yeah, it's for me. It's a obviously I would like everyone to watch this, but you have to be in a certain like mindset and like place to watch this, if that makes sense.
Yeah.
So obviously, there's it's incredible. I have probably I think about it once, probably say it once a month. Certain scenes in this that just kind of what stands out to me is the child acting in this. It's
Yeah.
incredible. I hope they go on to have good careers. It very much reminds me of a Florida Project in that
Yeah.
regard.
I think After Sun is the other movie I would pair
Yeah,
with it. Yeah.
it's hard to really talk about the movie without, I guess, talking about what it like goes towards. If that makes sense, but definitely a good movie and the best of Sundance that year. I think that I saw. Or no,
Um,
it would have been this because I think Plain Clothes, the Tom Blythe movie, was better, but very good though.
yeah, let me see what else was that year. No, that was the Sorry Baby and the Twinless year as well. So those were both above that for me. But this one, the child performance that you referenced, Molly Bell Wright is I think she was 9 years old at the time. One of the best child performances I've ever seen. This one's a hard recommend for me. I'm with you that you got to be in the right headspace for this. But I just think it does a really good job at capturing how in childhood, like, there's so many moments that you'll never forget, but you wanna forget. And you even no matter how old you'll get, like, you'll always reflect back on some of these certain moments. And the whole movie just really kinda holds no punches in how it portrays some of the things that it portrays. And I think it's an important movie in a lot of regards as well. It got a lot of hate at Sundance because a lot of people kinda thought it was manipulative in the way that the movie was made, but I think it's sincere, in the filmmaking, and, I don't think this is a movie I will ever rewatch unless I'm, like, trying to show it to somebody or something, but, it's important and you should probably check it out once in your life.
Yeah, I will not rewatch this, but
I would
would
unless I,
highly
like,
recommend.
yeah, unless I, like, hated myself, like, I I can't imagine, firing this one up on like a this is the complete opposite of what we talked about last week with comfort movies. This is like an anti-comfort movie
Yeah, I would agree.
in all the ways. All right. Why don't you tell me a little bit about Swapped? And let's set the stage for everybody. This is Michael B. Jordan's first movie since winning the Oscar, so a lot of high hopes for everyone from that regard going into it.
Yeah, this is definitely a watch. Maybe I guess if you don't love animation, I still think this is a watch. You know, we talked about Super Mario movie. Go watch this one. This is an animated movie that I think you would actually like, because it all the criticisms you were giving Mario, this has the opposite effect. If that makes
Oh,
sense.
great. Yeah,
You can definitely
this is on Netflix, right?
yes, which I would like to shout out the Netflix animated movies, because they have been hitting on a good amount. The one I can think of is Nimona from 3 years ago, maybe. Very good movie, and this is the other one. They've had a couple other ones that,
Well, I mean, K-pop Demon Hunters from last year.
y was that Netflix, though?
Yeah.
Oh, I didn't realize that. I thought it was, like, Sony,
I
and
mean, Sony made it, but Netflix bought it from Sony to be able to put it out. Yeah. Netflix
oh,
owns it though.
okay.
Yeah.
Well, then that, and then there's, I think, like, Mitchell versus Machines was Netflix. I
Yeah.
personally never seen that, but people that have seen it have loved that. I've wanted to watch it. So we definitely give crap to Netflix a lot for their originals. I think animated movies are where they're thriving right now, and maybe should dive
How
deeper into
was
that.
how was Michael B. Jordan as a voice actor? Because I don't has he ever done anything like that
I
before?
don't think he has. I personally didn't love him. Honestly, I don't even know if I would have known that was Michael B. Jordan
Really? Interesting.
prior to. He sounded really weird. And that, not saying it was bad at all. It just kind of didn't sound like him. The animation in this movie is, like, gorgeous, which
Really?
yeah, I think it opens up with a scene I'm talking about. The first, like, 5 minutes of this, you're kinda just, like, locked in on how it looks. Really wish I could have seen this in theaters, but it's really just the classic, Freaky Friday-esque movie where these 2 people swap bodies.
Okay.
It's honestly like a Romeo and Juliet type Freaky Friday where they don't fall in love, but, like, 2 rival families or whatever, groups of animals, switch, and then they're kinda trying to figure out how to switch back. There's a plot twist in this movie that's kinda crazy,
Oh,
caught me off guard because I just wasn't expecting anything. The director, I think we talked about it maybe offline, but the director is one of the 2 directors that directed Tangled.
that's
He
promising.
hasn't directed anything after that, so I think there was no one knew if he was the good, because the other guy, Brian Howard, has went on to do Zootopia, Zootopia 2, and
Mm,
Kanto. He's done a lot, and this one kinda hasn't done a lot,
yeah.
but I think this is positive. I would like to see him do more animation because clearly he knows what he's doing in that regard. It's a crazy, like, world building movie too, where you're kinda just thrown into this, like, magical world and these magical creatures, and very beautiful. So if you
So it
like
is
animation, watch it.
so it is set in like a fantasy world.
Yes. Yeah, yeah, yeah. Like, there's, like, fire wolves are the villain, which is a
Oh,
tough villain.
oh.
But yeah, I don't think you'll watch this one because 'cause you're not the biggest animated fan, but
I could see it when we're getting towards the end of the year and I'm trying to cram final movies to make it on my, top 100 list or whatever. We'll see if it ends up making the, cut or not. I'm assuming this is a good one for the kids though?
yes, definitely. Yeah, I would
Okay,
agree. But yeah,
okay.
definitely a watch for me. I give it a 3.5, so, and a lot of people are really liking it too, which I think I talked about on the summer. I think I almost drafted it, or it was on my board. I kinda wish I would have drafted it, with how it's
What's
playing, but
what's the letterbox average at?
3.4, which,
Oh,
I mean,
yeah,
I would
not
have
bad.
drafted this at, like, the last pick, so I would have taken that. But yeah, good movie. Uh, so I don't really know if this is a documentary or a movie, but The Lorne, I know obviously it's about
Yeah,
Lorne Michaels, so I'm guessing
yeah.
documentary.
Yeah, it is a documentary. So, this one is a watch for me, but I think it's a very specific kind of watch. I think you have to be interested in Saturday Night Live as a whole to be able to enjoy this. This is directed by Morgan Neville, who really has sort of kind of certified himself as kind of the preeminent documentary maker of the past probably 10 years. He did the "Won't You Be My Neighbor," Mister Rogers doc that he, I believe, won an Oscar for. He did the Pharrell Piece by Piece movie from 2024. They got a lot of attention. Also, the Steve Martin doc from the past couple of years. This is essentially the first documentary and really kind of one of the only interviews that the creator of Saturday Night Live, Lorne Michaels, has sat down for. And what I really loved about it is it I don't think that the documentary itself is like one of the best documentaries I've ever seen, but where I thought that it was really cool was that essentially this camera crew kind of follows Lorne Michaels around for like a year or so, and you get to see all of these different moments of kind of the SNL week as it leads up to the show that have never been shown before. So like every week he has there's a meeting in his office where they bring all the staff in to like meet who the host is, and they all go around and they share something funny that happened this past week, and they try to generate ideas for sketches. And you just get to see kind of all of the behind the scenes meetings that happen throughout the week leading up to SNL. And I think, there's been books written about SNL. There's been so much talk about like what makes it so magical and whatnot. And this is just kind of the first time that you've ever got access to see that behind the scenes. It's cool because they kind of get everybody to sit for the documentary that you would want, like all of the famous SNL. I mean, all the way back to like Chevy Chase and Steve Martin, and even to like current people like Michael Che and Colin Jost and Andy Samberg and John Mulaney, like all the types of people that you would want to sit for this type of thing. But I can't say that I got to the end of it and said that like there was like necessarily anything profound that I learned from it. But I think that's partly just because Lorne Michaels is such a like enigma, and he always it just kind of keeps to himself constantly. That it was cool to see him being interviewed, but he wasn't necessarily super forthcoming. So I don't. I think if anyone was going to make it, Morgan Neville was the person to do it. I would recommend it if you are interested in SNL and sort of the history of SNL, but if you're not interested in those things, you will be incredibly bored by this, and there is no reason to check it out. So it's on VOD at this point, but it's a Focus movie, I think. So it'll probably be coming to Peacock at some point in the future. So for anyone interested in that sort of thing, would recommend that.
Does it show a lot more than like the SNL movie that came out? Because obviously, I mean, that came out what, 2 years ago?
Yeah, and that's a good point. That's a good point what you're saying, because I feel like where this documentary went wrong is that they almost tried to cover SNL from like the days that it started all the way through now, and there was a lot of overlap in those early
Yeah.
parts of like what the movie was showing. And so what I found more interesting was like there was actually a lot that was filmed the week that Timothy Chalamet was hosting. I guess this would have been like last year or 2 years ago. And so you just get to see them like messing around on like trying to create the sketches and just like the traditions. Like they every night, I think it's Wednesday that the scripts are due. So like every Tuesday night, they go out to the same Italian restaurant. The whole cast and the host and Lauren goes, and they all like eat their Italian food, and then they come back to the office and they spend all night Tuesday night writing the show. And then Wednesday morning is when like the scripts are done. But it was interesting to learn that there's like every week they come up with almost 80 sketches that get
Shoo.
done, and they cut it down to like the 10 or 15 that you see that make it on the show. So just stuff like that was kind of cool to learn about, but can't say that it like changed my life or anything like that. So I think I think I did give it like a 3 on Letterboxd. Worthwhile for people that care about it, but otherwise not too much worth checking out. One that is worth checking out and has been on my watch list very, very, very high up for a long time. And I think I'm going to finally get a chance to see it here in the next couple weeks. But Trey, you have got a chance to see it. Is the Canadian film called Blue Heron?
Yeah, Blue Heron. It's by Sophie Romvari, wrote and directed it, and the film is basically it sounds like it's a true story from her childhood, essentially, and she when she was a very young girl, and her family. I gotta look this up. They were Hungarian immigrants moving to Canada, and so they're struggling integrating into the new world they're living in and all that. And it's kind of about from her point of view as a young kid, um, all the struggles that her family's going through, and especially her older brother and kind of the trouble that he gets into. And but then it kind of flips at some point in the movie to her as like a young adult and kind of reckoning with the memories that she had of her family and how they were struggling and what actually happened, um like from her parents' point of view and all that. And I don't want to give too much away, but it's a very emotional movie about family. And I know you said memory before, Aaron, before we got on, is like a way that it's kind of a play on how things are remembered, especially when you're really young, how
Mhm.
your memory can kind of be different about how things really were. But it's a very emotional movie. Kind of had some sentimental value vibes to it at certain
Mhm.
points, which
Yeah.
obviously I love sentimental value.
Yeah.
So that was great. But yeah, I really enjoyed it. It's a uh, fun, well, not fun, but it's very emotional, but family about you know family movie and going through family issues and stuff like that. So
So I'm assuming it's a definite recommend for you to
oh,
watch?
definite watch. Yeah, it's I think it's one of the best movies I've seen this year. Maybe
Yeah.
it's
It
definitely in my
seemed
top 3 or 5 or whatever. So
Seems like that's kind of the consensus from, people that I know that have seen it. When you were describing it, and even in what I've heard about it, I've been thinking about this movie, but the movie that and we mentioned it earlier, but it sounds a lot like After Sun. And you've seen After Sun, right, Fugi, or not?
Yes, but that was
Okay.
I will take that with a grain of salt. This was prior to me getting into movies, so the
Yeah,
rating
it's
probably doesn't affect what it actually was.
you should check out After Sun at some point, Trey, because it's sort of a same thing. It's about like a girl that is experiencing childhood, but then she's kind of reflecting back on what her childhood looked like and her relationship with her father, and things that happened or didn't happen, and how she interpreted those. It was one of my favorite movies from 2022, I think. Yeah, 2022 is when it came out. Charlotte Wells is the director of that. So I would imagine we will have more on Blue Heron, as the year goes on and as more people have a chance to see it, but, glad we could shout it out at this point.
yeah,
Yeah, let's go over to I think another Netflix movie and Apex.
Yeah.
I think I asked you originally if I should watch this one or not so we could talk about it, and I think I know where this is going, but I guess I'll be excited to hear.
No, yeah, this one is a, hard skip for me. This is the, new honestly, I'm just gonna say, like, Netflix slop movie, that stars, Charlize Theron and, Taron Egerton. Um I love that Taron Egerton in this movie is, like, having so much fun. You can just tell that he's just having a blast. It's directed by Baltazar, Kormaker? Probably butchering that name, but, he previously directed, Beast is probably and Everest in, 2015.
Hey,
Um, have you seen Everest?
I've seen both of those, yeah.
Oh, okay, alright, well,
Everest is
maybe
a
you'd
good
be
movie.
Maybe you'd be more of a fan of this than I do, but essentially, Charlize Theron's character is like the movie opens with her climbing this mountain with her husband, and it's like a wintry kind of not Everest, but like they're kind of scaling a mountain, sort of like that. And I don't think it's a spoiler because it happens in the first like 5 minutes. Her husband falls to his death while they're on that mountain, and so then she like wants to do the complete opposite of that, and so she climbs. She goes to Australia. And is like wanting to go hiking in this like remote like desert type of not desert like this remote forest, and she's gonna sprinkle his ashes there essentially, and she comes in contact with Taron Egerton, who at first seems like he's this super nice guy, but then it becomes very apparent that he's just this guy who just lures people into the jungle and then just hunts them for sport essentially and kills them. And so the whole movie is just him kind of chasing her throughout this jungle, and it's this game of like kind of cat and mouse. And like I said, Taron Egerton is like really hamming it up and doing the performance to like a 9 or a 10, and like it's just really funny to watch him kind of in that lane and doing that sort of thing. But I'm just not a huge fan of the like slop actiony type these kinds of movies that Netflix love to make. And so I would stay away from it. But if you like that kind of movie and you want something to just like turn on and like you don't want to have to think, and you maybe want to like also, I don't ever say this about movies, but you maybe want to also like scroll on your phone a little bit, but you want to have something on, may not be the worst thing in the world to put on.
I kinda still wanna watch it. I didn't realize he directed those 2 movies. Beast was a fun movie. I mean, wasn't good,
Apparently,
but
Apparently too, he's already like him and Charlize Theron are already going to team up again for another movie. I don't know if you saw, but she climbed the top of the building in Times Square like as a promotional stunt for this movie, the where the ball drops. It's kind of funny that everybody is doing a play on Timothy Chalamet's climbing to the top of the sphere, just as like a marketing campaign, which is interesting. But um, I think I gave this one a 2 on Letterboxd. It's a stay away from me, and it was one of those that, like, I knew I had fun with it for maybe the first 20 minutes, but, like, 25 minutes in, I was like, "This is not good. I don't wanna be watching this anymore." But that is my commitment to the people of this podcast, is that I stick with movies like this all the way through so that I can say, "Don't watch it."
I respect that.
Um, Fugi, speaking of a movie that I wanted to watch but haven't gotten to, tell us a little bit about Slanted.
So I originally watched Slanted because McKenna Grace was in it. Um, Kinda watch anything she's in, and, she's been in a lot of trash
I
recently.
was gonna say that's not been a good
Um,
sign for movies recently.
and for me personally, I think it continues. I did not think this was very good. So it was a directorial debut from Amy Wang. Basically, it's about a insecure Chinese teenager who wants to win prom queen. That's like her one goal in life, but each year, a blonde white girl wins. So what does she do? She goes to a place that will basically change her look and turn her into a white girl,
Oh,
which changes her into McKenna
who am
Grace.
who among us hasn't wanted to do that?
And yeah, basically it's just like it's a substance-esque type movie about like obviously identity and changing, but it didn't really land for me. There's a 5-minute scene in this where there's a song that is just about singing how white is right and about how just being white is the best thing in the world. Um, it was just
But
it was
I'm assuming that's played as a joke because she is an Asian person that has become a white person at
well,
this
yeah,
point, right?
it's about the place that she's about to go get this surgery from
Gotcha.
because
Okay.
um yeah, and it's just also it was very predictable in my opinion. I knew exactly what was going to happen at the end when it
Wait,
happened.
so if she turns, I'm assuming she turns into McKenna Grace, right?
Yes, she is a
Does
Chinese girl that turns into McKenna Grace.
is it this girl's voice the whole time? So
No,
does McKenna
it's
Grace not talk?
no, it's
Oh,
McKenna Grace. That's
oh,
why
that's
they
interesting.
the main girl is Shirley Chen. They kinda split honestly, she's probably in it for 25 minutes, 30 minutes, then McKenna Grace is in it the rest of the movie, kind of. So I would say McKenna Grace is definitely the lead of this. Um, but yeah, if you're gonna watch a movie about identity like this, I would just say go watch A Different Man or The Substance.
Mm,
I mean, they're kinda all similar in what they're tackling. I think this one is
yeah.
clearly the worst, but definitely not like an awful movie. A lot of people are decently liking it. It's right in the middle. So I would it's a strong debut from Amy Wang.
So you'd be excited to see what she does next.
Yes. Yeah, I would. Um, but this one just didn't
Logist
hit.
Logistical question here. How do the people at the new school, like, how do they even know who this other girl is? Or do they think that
She completely changed her identity. She went by a different
but
name.
So she just shows up to school one day and they're like, "Oh, this is a new
Well,
girl?"
she said she came in from California. She
Oh,
moved,
gotcha. Okay.
and then
Alright.
yeah, and she's just trying to win prom queen, and that's it, really. I don't really know what I'm gonna give this. I kinda just finished it not that long ago, so I'm still thinking about it, but definitely an interesting watch, I'll say that. Um,
Yeah, I want to watch this at some point, but it has not happened yet, so appreciate you, illuminating us on that.
so another one I have no clue what this is She Dances. I've not
Yeah,
heard about this one.
yeah, this one is one that I actually just watched kind of on a whim, for this episode, and otherwise I would have never watched this, and I am so, 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 so glad that I did. So this one is, like, hard recommend, and maybe the most recommend of anything I'm gonna talk about today, actually, which is interesting that we're talking about this towards the end. But this is a movie that kind of was on the fall festival circuit last year, and it came out, back in March, April, but it's directed by Rick Gomez. And it's about a kind of father and his distant teenage daughter, and they kind of road trip to a dance competition. But what's really exciting about this one is the father in the movie is Steve Zahn, who, if you hear the name Steve Zahn and you're like, I think I know who that is, but I don't know who that is, Google him. You've probably seen him in a dozen movies. He's hilarious in most of the movies he's in, but in a very serious role here. And his daughter in the movie is his actual daughter in real life, Audrey Zahn. So, sort of similar to kind of the whole Adam Sandler thing. You're like, oh, this is going to be a nepo baby situation, and it is not that in any regards. She will be a famous actress someday. She gives a phenomenal performance. Ethan Hawke is also in the movie, a little bit, but the movie sort of tackles, there's sort of this kind of unspoken thing going on between the two of them. They have, you learn pretty early on that they've actually lost, like her brother actually passed away a few years before that. And so they experience this traumatic thing as a family, but they're just not really talking about it at all. And so it's kind of created a rift between her and her dad. And her mom and her dad have split up. So she doesn't really spend that much time with her dad. But this movie, it's a little bit overwritten towards the end of it, and I think some people may say that it's a little cheesy when it gets towards the end of it, but I love what it's doing to kind of play with form. So it has this really, 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 unconventional use of split screen throughout the movie, where there's multiple scenes where the dad and the daughter are sort of in two different places in the world, but it's showing what they're both doing kind of at the same moment with the split screen, and it does a lot to communicate like how similar these two people are and how they're grieving in the same ways, but they're not really talking about it. And it kind of culminates in just a heart-stopping, final act. It reminds me a lot of Coda and kind of the way that Coda ends, but would highly recommend this one, for whoever. A date night movie, whole family, it you definitely have to be into more emotional, kind of family dramas, but, this is nowhere near sentimental value, but you referenced sentimental value earlier, Trey. It kinda reminds me a lot of that, and I'd love to see Steve Zahn in more dramatic roles going forward, and I hope that this is the first of, many roles for, his daughter. Also love that Ethan Hawke did this. I would imagine that this was 1,000% just a favor to Steve Zahn to get this movie off the ground, because it probably helped with financing, the fact that Ethan Hawke was in, like, 4 scenes. I mean, he probably did 1 or 2 days of shooting, but, Ethan Hawke's a real one. He champions indie film, and I would be interested in seeing more movies from all the people involved.
Is this on a streaming service or is this theater?
It is not. I rented this on, it was in theaters earlier this year. I rented this on, Apple. And actually, it was one of those situations where it was only, you know how you have to make those calls sometimes when you're renting something where it's like $20 to rent or $25 to buy? I, for some reason, made the decision to buy it instead of rent it, and I'm very glad that I did, because I will 100% watch this one, again, probably before the year is over. It's one of my favorites from the year.
Yeah, I'm definitely that makes me wanna watch that. I had no clue anything about that, but I would definitely check it out. Am I wrong for thinking we only have 2 left, or am I forgetting
No,
something?
you're right. One more thing about, She Dances is it's one of those movies that is like 80% of it is all set like in one place. So they're at this dance competition for the weekend, and it's like almost the whole movie is kinda set over the course of that weekend while they're in this one building, and it just brought me back to I think a lot of people had this experience, like, in high school as a kid whenever you're in these, like, type tournaments where you're at a basketball tournament or a soccer tournament and you're, like, in this one, like, building or this one, like, sports complex for an extended period of time over a couple days, and it does a really good job of, like, capturing the kinda claustrophobia of that, but that's the last thing I have to say about that. Do you do you want
I
me to do the and then we can close with the one that we've all 3
Yeah,
seen?
I'm gonna send it over to you again for the Jerry West the logo.
Yeah, this one I actually just watched, this afternoon, actually, prior to recording. Um, I don't like to throw people under the bus, but this documentary was a complete and utter disgrace to Jerry West. Um, I know, probably a lot more about Jerry West than, most people do. We all actually grew up, not too far from where Jerry West grew up. I've actually met Jerry West before, like, I have a picture with him, a few years ago at the Greenbrier. Obviously, he passed away, in 2024, 2025. And so it's always a big task to kinda take on, a project of this caliber for someone that means this much to people. This director is so self-centered that I kid you not, probably 15 times throughout the movie, he has a camera on himself asking Jerry West questions. Like, he is so focused on making sure that he is, like, the center of the story. The documentary opens up with I took a picture of it and I need to read it here to you. This is the first thing that pops up on the screen of the documentary. As a first time documentary filmmaker, I didn't know if I was the right person to tell Jerry West's story. But in Jerry West's pain, his perfectionism, his fatherhood, and his feeling of being an outsider, I saw my own story and I knew I had to tell it. And from that opening frame, you can just tell how this guy is just solely focused on making it like overtly clear to the whole world that he's the one that's making this movie. And he's almost like trying to turn it more on himself than he is on Jerry West. I think towards the end of it, it starts to get in some interesting things with Jerry West and like some of the depression that he dealt with and what his second and third career looked like as a coach and as a GM and all those sorts of things. But there were just some very, very, very bizarre music choices that were chosen. He goes for this sort of maximalist approach in almost every frame. Like there's parts of it that almost looks like he was using AI to make some of the things that he's making. I normally watch a documentary and I'm like, that was totally fine. Like most don't blow me away. But this one was so poorly done that it almost just made me angry. Don't watch this movie. Hard, hard, hard skip.
Can we get a shout out for the director?
Yes, I will. What is this guy's name? Kenya Barris. And I looked him up because I was like, this guy, hopefully he hasn't done too much else. And he did a Netflix movie from a few years ago called You People. This is the Jonah Hill Eddie Murphy one. And I don't know if you saw this movie, Fugi,
I
but
remember it.
I saw it and I gave it a 2.5 on Letterbox. Was not a good movie. But what's interesting is if you look at this guy's upcoming filmography, and I don't know who thought this was a good idea, he is going to be tapped with doing a remake of It's a Wonderful Life that he is directing and writing. Um, I could not be less excited about that. You will have to win a summer box office draft to make me watch that movie.
Yeah, I will not be watching that either. Shout out
So,
that guy though.
yeah, stay away from Jerry. And I'm not the kind of person that likes to do that, but that one needs to be stayed away at all costs. All right, our final movie, one that I think maybe the only one that we've all three seen other than Sheep Detective. We haven't had a chance to talk about this yet because the podcast started not long after this movie came out, but Project Hail Mary did come out this spring and I think it's a strong recommended watch from all three of us. But let's talk about it for a second.
I wouldn't say for me personally, it's not a strong recommendation. It's a recommendation. I w- the general population is like this has become the new Interstellar, and I don't like it. Like they're glazing this thing to
Okay,
an extreme. It's good. It's a really good movie, and would definitely recommend it. We don't get many amazing or good space movies, really. There's definitely a lot of bad ones, so we'll definitely give it the credit that this is a top 5 space movie. Well, no. Top 10, I'll give it top 10.
Yeah, I think I lean towards agreeing with Fugi. Like people are kind of comparing it to like Interstellar, and The Martian is obviously a comparison because the same writer wrote the book The Martian as wrote Project Hail Mary. But yeah, those films are just on another level for me. Project Hail Mary is like a notch below that. I don't really know what it is, but just like walking out of the theater, it didn't really like feel like the epic, space drama or whatever that I was looking forward to. I mean, it was really good, and yeah, it'll probably be whatever top 5 or 10 movie of the year for me. But yeah, it was okay. I don't know how big of a Ryan Gosling fan I am, so maybe that kind of feeds into it a little bit. But yeah, go ahead,
I
Aaron. What do
I
you?
was going let me say that I think one of the
Okay.
biggest disservices that it is happening to it, and it's unfortunate because I hate seeing, I go on Instagram Reels and I'm seeing stuff about this. The fact that it's getting compared to Interstellar is really bad, and I don't understand it. Yes, it's a space movie, but like they're drastically different in a lot of ways. This was never, I guess, supposed to be what Interstellar was. This is more about friendship than whatever Interstellar is, trying to save the world, I guess, which he is, but it kind of feels like a second focus on this.
Yeah.
This is why we can't have nice things. Like, let's like what I'm totally with you all. In fact, I saw it a second time and I actually bumped my rating of this movie down. So originally I had it at a 4 and I bumped it down to a 3.5 after rewatching it. But this is a perfectly good movie. Like you all both like it. I like it. We don't have to sit here and say it's the best movie of the year, but let's celebrate something good when. And I agree, it's annoying when people come along and like overhype something, but that doesn't mean that we have to sit here and tear it down. This will probably end up being, for all three of us, a top 20, top 25 movie of the year. Like no doubt. And when it comes to streaming, when it comes to VOD, whatever, people should check it out. You guys don't have to overcorrect just because people are overhyping it.
I was more saying
Yeah.
that like it
Uh,
needs to be like leveled down a little bit. Now, I'm not saying it's a negative to the movie. I'm saying it's a negative to the people because
Yeah,
a
I'm
lot.
with you that it's not one of the greatest movies ever made or anything like that.
I got
Sure.
a text from one of my friends after he saw it and said, I looked on Letterbox, saw a 4 point, whatever, 4.2, and I was severely disappointed because of that. That's where I'm saying that it's doing a disservice to the movie by these
Yeah.
people,
Yeah. That's
not the
fair.
movie itself.
That's fair. But I think that's and there's been criticisms about how about how movie people just like overhype everything to get people to go to the movies, and then people get there and they're like, that was like a totally fine movie. But it wasn't, revolutionary or anything like that. Um, it will be Trey reference Ryan Gosling. It will be interesting because he's kind of having a moment right now coming off the heels of this, and he's going to star in Sean Levy's Star Wars movie next summer called Starfighter. So I know Sean Levy is a director that you like, Fugi. I know that he's a director that I don't like too much. Trey doesn't seem to like Ryan Gosling too much. So we've got an interesting pod brewing for that next
You've
summer.
only seen one Sean Levy movie, though. We can't say we
That's
don't
not.
like. I'm pretty sure he's
That's
only
not.
done like 2 movies.
Sean, no, that's not true.
Do you like Stranger Things too? He directed all the best Stranger Things stuff.
Well, but he didn't like write and create the Stranger Things.
He was part of the creation team, him and the Duffer Brothers.
He's directed 24 films.
Well, how many have you seen?
One, two, three, four, five, six, seven,
Holy
eight,
crap! How many have I seen?
maybe. I've seen Deadpool, Wolverine, Night of the Museum, Night of the Museum 2, Cheaper by the Dozen, Night of the Museum 3, The Internship, This Is Where I Leave You. Um,
And you're still gonna stand on that ground that he's a bad director and you don't
no, I
like
don't
him?
think I mean, he's not. I think he's totally average. Like, I don't think he makes great movies. I think he makes okay movies, and I think he makes crowd pleasing movies, but, um,
I have a
he,
lot of hope
he,
for Starfighter, I'm gonna be honest.
there's no 4-star movies on that list. Well, maybe cheaper by the dozen, but other than that, it's a lot of like 2.5s and 3s on there.
Yeah, that's fair.
But I'm totally with you on Project Hail Mary. I'm just saying I don't think I get that people are overhyping it. I don't think we have to overcorrect it so far and be like, it's not that good, whatever, because it is still a good movie. Like let's celebrate it for what it is. We don't get big budget spectacles like that are as handcrafted as this one is. It's not a bunch of CGI slop that you get from a lot of Marvel-y type movies at this point. Like it's been really cool to see the behind the scenes of this movie as more time has gone on, of like how much they practically built by hand, how much the puppeteering, all that kind of stuff was done. And it'll be interesting to see what it does at the Oscars. Do you have a prediction, Fugi, on how many Oscar nominations it will pull down at this point in time?
I think max it gets his 3. That would be my
Oh,
guess. I don't think it's gonna do I think
so
it's
you don't think
gonna
you don't think it'll be a Best Picture
no.
nominee?
Well, maybe. That might be one of
Really?
the 3. I was thinking like that, visual effects is probably a lock, I would assume.
Yeah, probably maybe production design, yeah,
Yeah,
costuming.
but, like, what costumes are we really looking at besides Ryan Gosling
Well, I think production
outfits?
design is a
Production, I could see,
definite.
yeah,
Yeah.
but I don't think, like, he's not gonna get actor. I hope he doesn't get actor. If that
Is
puppet wins
is
for
is Ja is James Ortiz gonna get,
I will say this right if
supporting?
he gets a nomination, I will never watch the Oscars again. Like, I will turn it off every year. That would
Well,
be the stupidest thing
that
ever.
may be a problem for the podcast in general, so I don't know that you can commit to that, but I appreciate your dedication.
I'll look the next day to see who won, but I will not watch that. That would be so incredibly disrespectful to Andy Serkis and everyone that's done motion capture.
Well, maybe it's paving the way for The Hunt for Gollum. He's coming
Maybe,
for that Oscar.
maybe. But yeah, I mean,
Um,
it was I think for me, the more I think about this movie, I don't wanna rewatch it because I have a feeling I'm gonna lower it, and I don't wanna do that, so I might just not touch it and remember that I did like it in theaters and
Interesting.
like certain aspects of it because I did like a lot. Um, I love see, I just feel like for this movie, I feel like there's so many negatives I could talk about, but, like, I'll just say Ryan Gosling for me, I know Trey shared his opinion. I love Ryan Gosling.
Yeah, I do
Um,
too.
this is I don't think if anyone else is in this scenario, I don't think I could have sat there for 2.5 hours and enjoyed myself.
Yeah.
So I will give him credit where it's due there. He will kind of he is the blockbuster guy nowadays, I think. He's what
Yeah,
Glenn Powell wishes he could be, and yeah.
well, I don't think it's fair to compare. They're in 2 very different places in their
But, like,
career, but, that's a low blow at Glenn, but
I'm saying with, like, the blockbuster standpoint, like, Ryan can pull in money, no doubt, whenever he
yeah.
wants. Yeah.
Well, he didn't with The Fall Guy last year, but,
It still made a decent
he
bit.
I don't know that it did, but, I hear you, and I think that this is sort of a stepping stone for him. I mean, Barbie made a ton of money. You can argue if that was him or not, and I'm sure the Star Wars movie will make, a ton of money whenever it, comes out. Speaking of Star Wars movies, we got another Star Wars movie coming out here in a few weeks. But next week on the pod, what do we have planned? I don't even is next
Obsession.
week Obsession?
Yep.
Yeah. So next week we'll be talking about Curry Barker's directorial debut. I have to watch these horror short films that Trey has been trying to get me to watch for the past 10 years. At some point between now and then, and we also may be touching on the new Guy Ritchie movie In the Gray, and also Is God Is, which is you have that one in your box office draft, right, Figgy?
Have you checked Letterbox?
I haven't. No.
It's looking good. That's all I'm saying.
Oh, did it premiere already?
Apparent people have been seeing it, and the graph looks like if they were to come out, it'd be at like a 4 right now or 3.9, somewhere around there.
Well, that's promising.
I would like to state for the record, the more I've thought about it and seen interviews with Curry Barker, or Baker. Is it Barker or Baker?
I think it's
Barker.
Curry
Barker.
Parker,
Okay.
yeah.
Pretty
Obsession
sure.
is my most anticipated of the year by far. If I don't give this above a 4 or a 4 or above, I will be severely disappointed. I
They keep releasing clips of it, and I'm, like, trying to not get sucked into watching the
I
clips, but every time I see they release that clip of, like, them at the like, on the dinner date, with, like, the main character and, like, the girl, and I only saw, like, a portion of it, but I got so excited that I had to, like, turn it off. I'm really excited for this
I've
movie.
been listening to interviews with him talking about the movie and, like, inspirations for the movie,
Yeah.
and I think it's, gonna be amazing. I can't wait. Same with Backrooms. I've been hearing interviews of that too and inspirations, and
Yeah.
that is also good stuff.
Yeah, Backrooms premiered, earlier this week as well, and seems to be seems like a decent buzz coming out of it. It was a little bit more muted than I would have hoped as somebody who, secured it as his, second pick in the blockbuster draft, but, um, nonetheless, we will, check in next week for those new releases. Until then, I hope you all watch, things that were a lot better than some of the movies we talked about this week. Until next time, we will, we'll see you next week.